Hi. Well, it's been an interesting couple of days, hasn't it, in the Xbox world? Thanks everybody for tuning in here on the channel. Fun speculation. Not a lot of fun things to talk about really the last 2 days. So it's a little bit different vibe here today. If you've been following my Twitter, it's been a little bit different vibe since yesterday as well. But regardless, this is a time. Eventually, we'll all move past this, hopefully, if more bad things don't keep happening. But we got some shit to talk about. We do have some stuff to talk about. So, we're going to talk about them. I already noticed my camera is, like, acting weird and delayed. Bear with me real quick. I'm going to try and fix that. Because that would be very annoying the whole time. And yeah, bear with me, guys. Test. Better? No? Yes? Maybe so? No? So let's try this. Okay. All right. I think it's a little bit better. I don't know what's going on with it. Maybe it's just on my PC. It looks like that. I don't know. But anyway, thank you all for being here on the channel. If you do like the content on this channel, hit the like button, share it out, sub, notification bell. It's been a while since I've just done a MavCast and not like a game stream. I've done a couple game streams recently where we kind of talk a little bit here and there, but this is kind of the first one where I actually got a lot to say. I didn't go live yesterday, honestly, just because I didn't feel like it. There's been a lot of nonsense, I think, in the community more than anything. That's been almost more disappointing than anything else. Where it's like you voice some disappointment or criticalness, and all of a sudden you get lumped in with a bunch of people that are always negative or pessimistic and all these things. And even if it's legitimately something that's bad, even if it's legitimately something that you don't agree with, or if you think is not good for the brand of Xbox or gaming or Game Pass or whatever, right? People have all their different feelings, and if it's not a big deal to you, that's fine, right? Nobody's telling anybody they have to care, that they have to care about this, that they have to care about the studios or the people or the games or whatever, right? Or nobody's saying that you have to feel like it's a big deal when studios get shut down. For me, it matters more for some studios than others. And there's not one particular studio out of these that's like my favorite studio. For sure. There's a lot of people that are reaching way too far to the extreme, saying this means the death of Xbox. This means that Phil Spencer should be fired, all these other kind of things. I think the truth is somewhere in just a kind of a shitty situation, and it's more of a reality check of what's happening. And it's not necessarily the death of Xbox or the death of Game Pass or everything is changing or anything like that. It means some different people are definitely enforcing the decisions now within Microsoft and Xbox than had control before. Microsoft Xbox has become a bigger pillar for Microsoft. And different eyes are more focused. $70 billion is a lot of money. And they're going to be making decisions more cutthroat. Not necessarily about the vision that's been talked about for years. It seems like that vision is dissolving before our eyes. And that's what I want to talk about. Not that it's bad for forever. Not that Xbox is going to die. Not that Game Pass doesn't matter anymore. Not that Phil Spencer should be fired, anything like that. But that this really sucks. And I want to try and figure out what this means. And that this does matter. When you have studios that were winning awards previously, I know Redfall is a big flop. Redfall launched in a horrible state. all these things. Hi-Fi Rush didn't. Hi-Fi Rush was not really a flop, and I mean, it wasn't the biggest budget title. It met, according to Xbox, and met all the important metrics. But yet, came out that they didn't want to take the time it took to invest in making a sequel that was going to take years to make, and that's the reports that are coming out about why they shuttered Tango Gameworks, their only Japanese studio. And when we start looking at decisions like that, that's where it gets concerning. The studio that has won awards recently, that had been able to produce multiple games in not too long of a stretch of time, and also a studio that had a lot of variety in the kind of games that they can make, and it was important for the region that they're in, being the only one that Xbox has. So when they say that the decision, because the amount of time it's going to take to make a sequel for a game, is part of the reason why they're not going to continue with that studio, that makes the kind of games that they've been talking about celebrating in the Xbox ecosystem, doesn't make a lot of damn sense unless you realize that maybe it's not about the vision, and what they've been talking about really isn't what it's about. I think ABK has changed things. We just saw Tango Gameworks and Arkane Austin shuttered. Alpha Dog Roundhouse Studios shuttered. And that's 4 studios at once. I think that a lot of people are saying, like, well, they shuttered more studios. Well, they didn't really shutter any other studios recently besides this. You had the whole thing with Toys for Bob. You had the big layoffs and stuff like that, where you had divisions or big layoffs within certain sections and stuff like that, but not necessarily like an entire studio that makes games, right? And here we have, since ABK now, where they should be more secure, even according to their financials, are more secure. They have more profit. They have more stability. Even if you go and look at Matt Piscatella and the stuff that he's been talking about with the financials recently, more stability, and has the diversity of gaming has actually kind of solidified some of the revenues of some of these companies. And here we have decisions being made based on an individual basis, based on an individual studio of, well, you know what I mean? Well, not today. We're just going to go ahead and move on from you. That's what I think matters. And if I don't know what that means. Like, what's the metric to remain a studio that matters to Xbox, a studio that matters to Microsoft? And that being not clear now is very worrisome. The other thing, yeah, I know Redfall flopped at launch. It was bad at launch, all these other things. Me and Pong played it a couple months back. I don't remember exactly when, and we had a better experience. It was after the 60 frames update. And we actually were like, okay, this is pretty fun now. Well, they were also working on another big update that was going to hit this year. One thing I've always applauded Microsoft, and even when I was shitting on Redfall at launch and talking about it, I said eventually I think Redfall is going to be a good game because they're going to keep investing in it, because that's what Microsoft does. That's what Xbox has been proven to do. When they have these failures, they have these games, they keep investing in them, they keep improving them, they keep making them better, and over time, they can kind of transform a little bit. They've been putting this time in, and we were going to get another big update for that game this year, and now it's no. We're not even delivering on the things that was promised to the players that had actually purchased the content. They made a conscious decision to actually move away from supporting something that people have bought. I can't say that's cool. So, overall, what does it mean? I don't know. But I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't matter. There's a lot about this that we don't know, obviously, right? There's a lot that we don't understand about some of the decisions, and we'll never know the truth behind some of the decisions that they make. But I will tell you one thing, it's about money. And that's what it all comes down to, right? I think we can all agree, like, if a studio doesn't have a game that hits, all right, or that one game doesn't deliver, or that, hey, this was a bad thing. It shouldn't just be automatic. Hey, well, that's it for you. You put out something that's not the most biggest commercial success we've ever had, or you put out something that was subpar quality wise. Death to the studio. I would hate to live in that world as a studio where you have that much pressure, where, even if you deliver something that's a massive critical success, even if you meet the idea of expectations that the game had, even if the game does make a profit and all these other things, that it's just still, for some reason, not enough. So it comes down to money, right? It comes down to money, and it comes down to who's in control now. And if we look at the vision of everything, even today with Matt Booty's email talking about that they want studios to make smaller experiences that come out more often and are critically successful, they literally just shut down a studio that did that last year. So that's very contradictory to me, and I don't really understand the decision there. So I will say that's a bad decision from Microsoft. And I made a tweet just saying that I am disappointed. Not that he should be fired. I am disappointed in Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella that they weren't able to hold down the fort and convince the rest of the board or whoever else is involved. Or maybe it was their decision. I don't know. Even if it is their decision, then I'm even more disappointed. But to hold down the fort and say, no, this is too important. We can't lose these studios. And for us as consumers, we say, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect us. For me, it does, because the studios are the people that make the fucking games. And for me, it's like, if the games are what matters, and the value of Game Pass is what matters, and the amount of games going to Game Pass is what matters, and we get excited about Microsoft and Xbox when they acquire these studios because it's going to add all these things to Xbox and to Game Pass and all these things. When they detract from that and actually lay off the studios and actually outright shut down studios that have a track record of in the past producing quality games, that is not something that I'm going to applaud and just say, well, it's business. Well, we're going to roll some of them into other projects. That's the Activision Blizzard mentality from before. We're going to take these studios that had made smaller titles that may have had some critical success or had some fandom, but they weren't the biggest money makers. They weren't the biggest thing. So we're going to take those studios and we're going to put them on COD. Right? That's what ABK was doing before. They were transforming like High Moon Studios, Toys for Bob, all these other studios into being support studios for Call of Duty, instead of making those other games. And we were happy. Remember, we applauded when Xbox was acquiring these studios, because that means more freedom for them to be able to create smaller, potential great games that aren't necessarily for the masses or necessarily that are going to be the hugest, biggest critical successes or the biggest money makers. But it's okay, because Game Pass is the moat that kind of takes that pressure away from a studio. It's about the collective amount of games and value that's offered, not necessarily just one game. And if you say it's all about just one game and the profit that game makes, then Game Pass in itself is contradictory to that, because it actually decreases the amount of money that one game has the potential to make. It's different metrics. So you can't have something that's going to decrease the amount of profit one game can make in revenue and profit, and then say it's not enough. You can't have it both ways. And that's why we've been saying, Game Pass is a good thing. It helps all these studios. It allows them to be more creative. It allows for experiences like Pentiment. It allows for games like Avowed to be created. It allows for other things like Grounded to take off. It allows for all these different things, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be everything is the biggest massive success. It's supposed to be games that are for everybody. Games that are for you, and this game's for you, and this game's for you, and this game's for you. And it's okay, because overall you're casting a wide net to get as many different people that are in as many different games as possible. So when one of those studios is all of a sudden, hey, you don't belong here anymore. You cost too much right now because we don't want to invest in you making a new game that could be like 4 or 5 years away or whatever. I'm not all about that. I'm not going to sugarcoat that shit that's laid out in front of me. So I see a lot of the sentiment out there, and I really don't understand how, well, it's money, it's business. All right. For me, I'm not going to look at, hey, what's best for Microsoft here? What's going to give the executives the biggest bonuses? What's going to give the shareholders the best increase in their value of their stocks? What's going to give the board the most money? What's going to increase the value of Microsoft? What's best for Microsoft? What's best for that, right? I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about what they told us. I'm thinking about everything that they've been saying, everything that they've been promoting, everything that they've been talking about. And if you shut down these studios like this today, when they don't have to, the other thing is I think people are feeling like for some reason they had to do this. They're profitable as it was. They didn't have to do this. So for that reason, I'm saying, yeah, I don't understand it, right? It doesn't mean I'm going to stop playing Xbox. It doesn't mean I think Xbox is doomed or that they should fire people or that are in charge and all these kind of things. It just means we got to take a look and see what is Xbox now? What is the reality of the situation, and who's really making the decisions? And I think it's changed. I think ABK put a different level of focus within Microsoft where the money guys are now winning. Because I will not believe that if this was all up to just Phil Spencer, that this would be his decision. In fact, there's been emails in the past that have actually contradicted this. Where he would not want to close the studio for these reasons. But it's interesting. For anybody that doesn't think that they've been talking about how amazing that these studios could be and talk about the creative freedom that they're going to have and what it means to be part of Xbox and all this kind of stuff. Let's just look at what they've told us before. Remember this?
Hi everyone, this is Aaron Greenberg, the head of games marketing at Xbox. We are here at the headquarters of Bethesda in Maryland. It is a truly
Let's
special
watch
day,
this together.
And we wanted to take you behind the scenes to hear from the creators, hear from the team members about what it means for Bethesda to join Xbox in this roundtable. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the head of marketing and PR at Bethesda. You know him, Pete Hines.
Good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming out to see
Bye,
us.
Pete.
Good to be here.
You won't
Thank
be
you
here
all
for
of you
long,
for,
buddy.
for joining us. I want to start by introducing our colleague who could make the trip out here, but is going to be joining us on the roundtable today, and that would be Bond, Sarah Bond,
Dragging up
joining
the
us
past
all the
is
way from the
pointless?
other side,
Why?
head of partnerships at Xbox. That was pretty good.
Do statements and promises from corporations to the consumers not matter?
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. To my right here, we have two Aarons. We decided to stick all of our Aarons over on this side of the room to make it really easy to keep track. In addition to Aaron Greenberg, we've got Aaron Losi, our Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications. This gentleman needs no introduction. All of you should know who he is. Phil Spencer.
Hey,
Thanks
Phil.
for coming out to see us, Phil.
Thanks for having us. Excited.
And speaking of people who need no introduction, legendary game developer and my good friend
What's up, Todd?
Todd Howard from Bethesda Games.
It's great to see you in person.
Finally.
Fidelity is sick. Is this a Teams call?
Like a year ago that we got
Look at
to
that.
see
He's already doing Microsoft ads.
Definitely not.
Good plug.
Zoom.
Good plug.
Check.
Are we getting royalties on those?
Oh, do you guys not want me to
How does
play
work?
this?
And see, you've had the second dose of the Kool-Aid. That's good.
So as Aaron said, we're here today to talk about this amazing partnership of Bethesda and Xbox coming together. And I want to start, Phil, with you, because you're the one who made all of this happen and had the vision for what this might be. And I wonder if you could start by sort of giving us your own words on how did this all come about?
Yeah, what an exciting time for our fans. I see it in the community. I see it in the industry. People want to know what's going to come. We're bringing all of these creative teams together. We know it, gamers play games, and we knew our focus on our first party and our ability to build great games for Xbox fans was critically important to not only where we are, but where we're going. And the conversations we've had with you and the team here over the years have been instrumental to what we've done to date. So the opportunity to strengthen that relationship even further, starting now, will just be awesome.
I mean, we're finally here. Like, I feel like we've been building towards this day forever.
We
Tell
get
me
that-
more, Todd.
We got a lot of questions, all of us, over the months about, well, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do here? And we said it a couple times, but I'm not sure everybody heard it.
They didn't believe us, Phil.
We weren't able, there was no decision-making going on between the organizations. You guys have been running as Bethesda for all this time. We've been, which, like you said, seems like it's been a long time. We've been running as Xbox, so now we can actually start to sit down and really build our plans together. And that, I can't wait.
This is day
awesome.
one. I mean,
yeah.
But it is fun to see. People just can't believe it's real. Even the official announce, like seeing fans
4 of them
retweet, I still
gone.
can't believe this is real. And the excitement of what this means for gamers, what this means for dev teams, like, for us, like we could not be more excited. We've worked with you guys for years. We've been fans for years, but now, like, we're family, and that's a really exciting thing.
First of all,
We're family.
it's
Bye,
just
brother.
incredible to be sitting next to you in person after so many months of team calls and getting to know each other. So thank you for both taking the time to come out and join us here in Rockville. Todd,
This was
as
not that
someone
long
who's
ago.
been here since almost the beginning, I'd love your perspective on what this means to you.
It's a lot
What's
of
up, Mag?
emotions, a lot of excitement. It's, also, it's just surreal. I have to be honest. Like, even if it wasn't COVID and we're doing all of this, just this moment in our company's history would be surreal for myself and everybody who's been here for a very long time. Our company's had a lot of chapters, but when I think about it, each of those is marked by doing that with
Thanks, bro.
many of the folks at Xbox through every generation of consoles and technology. And when we sort of thought about what the future would bring, the games that we want to create, Phil is someone I'm always calling and bouncing things off of. And as we talked, it became clearer and clearer that this kind of partnership was where we wanted to go with
The
all
memories.
the games we were doing.
Man,
Speaking
the
of
hopes and
partnership,
dreams, right?
We have a head of partnership sitting right there. Sarah, this is something obviously you've been a big part of at Xbox. What was your take on how this process evolved?
What does
and the
ZeniMax and
idea
Bethesda
of,
have to do with
hey,
ABK?
Bethesda joining Xbox, becoming part of the same team. What were your thoughts
Well, I
when
can tell you
first started
now.
hearing about it?
In a lot of ways, it was very similar to what Todd
it's
just said.
a detriment to
always from the
ZeniMax
beginning,
Bethesda because of
whenever we were
ABK? Is that
thinking
what
about
you're
our
saying,
plans
Shane?
or our vision for gaming
They don't need
or
them
what we wanted
anymore?
to do next.
I don't.
You guys
What are
were
you
the
saying,
first people
Shane?
we called. Like, we would run things by
Before
you. We would
ABK,
have
so
really great discussions about the vision for
Now
gaming and the
ABK
future
exists.
of Xbox. And
We're
in
a
a lot of
different
ways,
company
it was something
now,
we
so
formed together.
now we're just
and
care
one of the
about Call of
things we did
Duty.
out
Is
of
that
right?
what you're saying? I don't
You guys
understand.
were early supporters
Trim
of
the
Game
fat?
Pass,
Oh, come
and
on,
you
bro.
worked with us, and you gave
Come
us
on.
feedback, and we got to just see together the
Hi-Fi Rush
incredible
ain't
value
fat.
it creates for both players and creators. And that really was the natural evolution. It created the opportunity for this awesome partnership and for us to come together, be on one team. And so just how you say you think of the future of gaming and you didn't see a future of gaming without Xbox. We just didn't see a future for Xbox without Bethesda.
Now, we know you all have a lot of questions. We've gotten a lot of questions since we announced this deal. But one of the biggest ones, Phil, is this question about exclusivity and how you think about
Me
that
too,
and how that's
Dova.
going to work with Bethesda.
Yeah, I see it. I see it in the community. I listen to the podcasts and all the questions. So I'm going to try to be as clear as I can.
You listening right
'cause
now, Phil?
That's what
I doubt it.
I just think it's fair. So obviously, I can't sit here and say every Bethesda game is exclusive because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations that we're going to see through, as we always do in every one of these instances. We have games that exist on other platforms, and we're going to go support those games on the platforms they're on. There's communities of players. We love those communities, and we'll continue to invest in them.
This was 3 years
And
ago.
even in the future, there might be things that have either contractual things or legacy.
To me,
on
that's
different
not that
platforms
long
that
in the
we'll go to.
gaming world.
But if we're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. And that's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building, and the creative capability we will be able to bring to market for our Xbox customers. It's going to be the best it's ever been for Xbox after we're done here.
Okay, Sarah, so Phil was just talking about Game Pass and how important that is to Xbox. You're obviously heavily involved in Game Pass. Talk to us a little bit about what folks can expect here in the near future.
Well, we're just getting started, right? But as part of that, one of the things that we're excited about is starting tomorrow, 20 games from Bethesda are actually going to be available in Game Pass, which is just awesome and represents just the beginning of
Yeah, I'm not
the
done with
collaboration
Xbox.
across our team. So we're actually going to
But-
be posting this in social. People can go check it out. All
It's
the
nice to
games are
take a
gonna be
look back at what
available.
could have
This
been,
is
right?
the beginning of some great things to come.
And to be clear, that's across all of our studios. We've got 8 studios around the world. Every kind of game you could imagine, RPGs, first-person shooters, no matter what you're into, you need to check Game Pass tomorrow because, man, there's an awful lot of content going in there. And I think folks are going to love it.
Still a lot of
the
awesome stuff
future
coming to
there.
Game Pass.
I think people don't appreciate, consumers see Game Pass as like, just give me games. I have lots of games. But then as a creator, it really unlocks some things that maybe you wanted to do, or will this find an audience, or there's certain types of games that maybe in the past could kind of get lost sometimes. And having that kind of avenue
Shane wants more
to make
studio
a game and release a
closures.
game opens up so many things, a lot of things that our company and all our studios.
Who do you want
they
to
really,
close
really
next,
love to
Shane,
do.
from
So
the Xbox
creator
studio
side,
family?
It's also
Tell
just,
me,
you
give
know,
me,
awesome.
Well,
Shane, give me
I
the
have a coworker
studios
that
that you want to
literally has
close
gone
from
on and on with me
Xbox.
about
So that way
Fallout
I know who you'll
76
be
and saying,
celebrating
I went
when
in
they
and
get
started playing
canned.
Fallout 76 and
When
it came
they
to
won't
Game
be able to
Pass,
make
and
games that go
I've
into
been
Game
thrilled
Pass
with the
anymore.
community and just like how supportive it is, and it's like arguably one of the healthiest gaming communities out there, especially for new players, and that's been a great benefit.
You
to
want
hopefully having
343 to
more players in that-
close,
in that
Coalition,
It really is. And
Rare,
76, while you
Ninja
mentioned,
Theory,
is something where it's another sort of point
Initiative.
in my mind with our relationship where when that game launched, the litany
let's
of
just
issues
trim the
we
fat,
had,
right?
And we let a lot of people down, and well, there was very little we didn't
Initiative?
screw
Okay.
up, honestly. And one of the people that
So you think
I
Perfect Dark's
called
in
was
bad
Phil.
shape?
And I said, hey,
think that rumor's
there's so many
real?
things we're dealing with. What advice do you have? And he put me in touch with some people at Xbox who were able to look at all of the games in the system and what was important and what wasn't important to the other games that made it for the long haul. And that kind of advice really, really helped us. And now, seeing 76 be one of the most played games on Xbox, we're just, incredibly fortunate to be there.
Yeah, Game Pass allows creative freedom, and that we have seen that with all of the creators that we've worked with Game Pass across the
Think we hear the
ecosystem. It's
initiative's
one of the
gone
things
by
I think is
June?
most beautiful about it is it actually gives you access to an audience that that you may not have otherwise been able to reach. It's helped.
I don't know. I don't
games that
consider
people may have
Hi-Fi
never
Rush
discovered
and Tango
actually get
Gameworks as
played,
fat.
and it's actually empowering creativity. And I just
Arkane
think that that's a
Austin, not
cool-
even
cool
really. I
thing,
mean,
and
they
it was cool to
delivered
hear Todd
one
say it, too.
subpar game at
So
launch.
obviously, games is a
but
big part of what we do here and how
they
we
delivered
interact
Game of the
with our
Year
fans. But I
candidates
think
before
the way
that.
Bethesda
So,
chooses to approach
I don't know.
how we talk to our fans, how we interact.
And they already had
with our
talked
fans is
about
a
the
big
next
part
game
of
that they
who
were
we are,
wanting
which
to
you've
make
obviously
was
been a
going to be
huge
more
part of
traditional like the
since
regular
you've been
games.
here. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it's about dialogue, right? It's about a two-way conversation with our fans, and we never want them to feel like we're talking at them because that does nothing for them and it does nothing for us. So, as we host events, whether they're digital or in person, it's about the whole experience. Who do they get to talk to? Who do we get to talk to? It's not about just churning a certain number of people through a kiosk to put their hands on a game. I mean, that's obviously an important part of it, but I think we look at it as the people are just as important as the games, and having the opportunity
QuakeCon
to work
this
with
year
you,
should be
Aaron, over
interesting.
the last few months and planning. It's just so refreshing.
It could be a
to
new
see
Doom
how
announced this
aligned
year.
we are in our approach to treating fans.
I agree. I'd just love to say, it's been incredible to see your obsession with fans and how much you kind of start there about putting yourself in the eyes of the gamer and how they'll react to things and how you've shaped things, how you've thought about things, and how you've not been shy about telling us,
Perfect
less of
Dark's
this,
been
more
one of
of
my
that.
most
I
anticipated, man. It's like I was crying for that franchise to come back.
Like a little fight.
And
over
finally,
email in
they
our
announced
first few
it years
days.
ago,
No, it was,
and we haven't seen it since.
We tell it how it is. I think authenticity is a big part of who we are too.
Aaron.
They just talked about it last year that
I-
we could
I
see it soon.
definitely want-
So we'll see.
Todd, I wanted you to talk a little bit about something that you preached a lot when I first got here in '99, which is a willingness to throw stuff out and start all over again. You sort of champion this idea that you can't be beholden to any feature that's in your game before. And when you hear Phil talk about how rapidly things change in this industry, I think a lot of what we do as Bethesda comes from you in terms of your approach to development and being willing to try new things to push boundaries.
Yeah, one of our mottos in the studio, and it came in the company for a while, is great games are played, not made. You can have the best design. This is a genius idea, but you never know how it's going to feel. Like that, what makes something fun in your hands. And when we think about the future of games and our ability to make them, that doing this together and this kind of partnership, it's going to sound cliche, like they believe it or don't believe it, but we have a firm belief that we're going to make the best games we could possibly make by doing this. So whereas I think it's great to have all of these games under one umbrella, like what does that mean at the end of the day to the games you're looking at? It's, for us, they're going to be even better than the way we were going to be doing them. And that's the ability to tap into everything at Xbox, to tap into everything that we've done in the past and solve those problems really together.
And something I want to build on there, our aspiration is to have literally billions of people experience the great games that both our teams build and our partners. And through the
Am I going to play the whole
the
thing?
power
I don't
of
know.
Our console and PC,
I'm
and
entertained.
xCloud, and that continued growth that we have. My aspiration, my goal, my hope is that the next games that come out of Bethesda will be the most played games in the history of the studio's organization. It's, you know, it is about reaching more players, as you say. It's about games that are played and finding those players wherever they are as we continue to expand the great capability of gaming to more and more people. That I think is just that's going to be so fun to watch as people around the planet get more and more ability to experience the things that Bethesda is capable of building.
Hey, Sarah, so when Phil starts talking about this ecosystem and widening the number of people that are able to play games like ours, obviously as somebody who's in charge of partnerships, that's a pretty giant undertaking in terms of the number of people that you're now dealing with. What does Bethesda being part of Xbox now do for you in terms of the partnerships that you're making and how you're able to grow Xbox beyond its current boundaries to something much bigger and broader?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like this fundamental
I didn't say their whole
acceleration
vision
to our
changed.
vision, like the ability to actually make it possible for someone to play Bethesda games, you know, on any device.
I think it's harder for them to fulfill this
if
vision
it's
now.
PC, if it's console, but also a mobile device or any other type of smart screen in the future is just incredible. And, you know, partners look at you guys partnering with us and they feel even more passionate about that vision. And so it dramatically accelerates our ability to just reach players around the world.
Can I jump on that a second?
Yeah.
Like for us, our old games, seeing them get out there, used to worry that like, unlike movies or other forms of entertainment, gaming has this technology barrier where can I experience the old ones? And I think gamers, I hope they appreciate, but they don't appreciate much the technical marvel that the backwards compatibility is on the systems. The fact that you can load up Oblivion, first game Aaron and
I can't wait
Lucy
for the
and I worked on
remaster of that.
together, and run it in 4K on your Xbox now. And
It's
that's on
ABK now, right?
For a creator to have that still have life is just awesome.
That's great.
I don't
And
see
the
anything
teams are already
unsustainable
working on
about
adding
what they've
FPS
had
boost
going
to
on,
those
considering they're
sites
so
too, which we're gonna
profitable.
announce soon, not today, but soon. So, but that's right. Without having to touch the code, you can basically take back.
Yeah, future. This is the Xbox Bethesda roundtable.
Get things like FPS boost is just another win for gamers.
Okay, so we did say that we were going to be like light on news.
There's something
This is
coming
not a
later
news
in this.
event,
It's gonna
but we
really
talked about Game Pass, and folks are going to want to know, like, hey, when are we going to get some information on what you all are doing together now that you're starting? So, Los, Screeny, what can they expect?
Well, one, I want to get through today first before we start planning
That's an
the next
admirable
big
goal.
thing, but,
I like it.
We've been having lots of discussions.
We are deep in planning mode, and it's been awesome because even as we've talked about, we think about content, we think about how we produce things, like we actually use a lot of the same teams. We think about stuff in the same ways. So even the process of, people don't realize, but when you go put, historically it was like the E3, event or whatever, you put on a show, you do a digital thing. Like,
Yeah, bro.
People
I
don't
hear
realize
you,
that
Yobi.
takes months and months of preparation. And so we are, in that
Alvin
planning
with the
phase.
$5
We are
says,
looking at content.
you know,
we
I've
are
been
thinking
super
about
high on
content.
Perfect
So
Dark,
now that we
and
are
it
officially
takes
one team,
Armageddon.
This is sort of the opportunity now for us to move it even more accelerated.
It takes Armageddon to get me down, but I admit, if Perfect Dark gets canceled, I'll need a bottle. Oh, bro, me too. That would be so bad for me, dude. Like, if Perfect Dark gets canned.
Summer officially ends when? They just want to give us
Whenever.
some room.
It's all over the globe.
All right.
I'm with you.
Sarah and Todd get
That
back
one
to
will
work.
hurt.
And we're going to be joined by Matt Booty, head of Xbox Game
Yeah, I hear you,
Studios, and
Brett.
Todd Vaughn, our
But that's
Senior
the
Vice President
point of the moat
Development.
in the Game
Right after
Pass
this
system,
community
right?
spotlight.
Is that you're able to take more chances to do different things. That's what was talked about, them being able to make different games of different scale for different kinds of gamers.
They're not just players, they kind of become your friends, and they
Welcome back. So that was a look at some of the amazing fans and their creations around our games and studios, and what a great segue, because games and studios is
Okay,
what we're here
like
to
that's
talk
a
about.
good question
Joining
right
us-
there. Hold on. Is Perfect Dark my line? Like, is there a line that I would like stop playing Xbox? No. I mean, like, unless they just literally shut shop, shut down Game Pass, and stop putting out games. But like, what is a line? I think we can be disappointed and be critical and like hope for better at times when things like this happen, without going to the point of saying I'm done forever. I refuse to play Xbox games. I'm going to stop supporting this company. I want Phil Spencer and the entire leadership team to be fired, all that kind of stuff. I think overall, I can look at the situation that happened and be like, that's a dumbass decision, and it completely contradicts everything that you've been saying over the last several years and hyping up the community to believe in something that you were building, and to believe in the vision of what it was, to believe in Game Pass, to believe in all these different things, to believe of the creative vision and freedom that you were allowing these developers, to give them that security to be able to fulfill their visions, right? To have a critical success, to have something that has actually been a very positive for Xbox last year, now flipping it around and saying, no, we don't want to build the next game because it's too hard and it's going to take too long. So we're all of a sudden done with you, Tango Gameworks. We're just going to completely shutter your studio. Whatever the reasoning be, whether it be staffing issues, whether it be too many people left when Shinji Mikami left, Shinji Mikami left, or whatever. You know, you had something there. You had John Johannes. You had teams there wanting and pitching, supposedly, to make Hi-Fi Rush 2. And instead of doing that, they say, no, we're not going to build upon that. We're just going to shut you down because it's not in our... we don't see it in our cards that that's important enough for us. For me, that contradicts everything that they've been saying for years, right? So I can look at that and I can say, hey, that's fucking stupid, Xbox. How are you going to allow that to happen? Like, why? How are you going to sit there and allow them, Tango Gameworks, to shut down? Or even one bad game with Redfall cause a studio like Arkane Austin, who's produced Game of the Year type games before, to be shut down as well. I can look at that. I can say, hey, that's dumb. I think it's a bad move. I think this lets us kind of see the reality of the situation now, that it's not necessarily everything that they've been telling us. Because if everything they've been telling us is the truth, and everything that they've been promoting and about the vision of what they want to do, and about how they want to support these devs that they've acquired, and how they want to create a good, safe place for them to make their visions come true, and all these kind of things, if all of that was true, then this would not have happened yesterday. I understand layoffs, I understand different situations and all that kind of stuff, but outright studio closures of talented studios, they are the people that make the games. That ultimately means less games for us as gamers going into Game Pass and to play on Xbox ecosystem devices in the future. I cannot sugarcoat that level of bullshit that's put in front of me. They said, because that's what the report was, Tom, is that it was going to take too long to make the next sequel. For me, I'm like, what? So now they have like this arbitrary timeline of when the studio has to make a profit. So are they going to make it to where they can only make small games to get out quickly? And if they can't do that, they're gone, or they're going to be rolled into a support studio for a massive games as a service franchise. That sounds like something from another big ass corporation like Activision Blizzard before they were acquired. I will say that again. And if that's what Xbox is, if that's what they become, as long as I get the games in Game Pass, I'm still going to be playing them. And also, even if it's not, I'll still buy the games I'm excited for. And I'm not just going to stop playing on Xbox because I prefer the whole ecosystem in general. But I don't want things like this to happen, so I'm going to speak against it. And I think a lot of people should, but if you don't want to, or you think that it's cool, it doesn't matter, and you're just going to support the corporation no matter what, then that's cool. That's on you. That, like, if you're somebody that's just like, you're going to root the team forever, no matter what they do, even closing award-winning studios, that's fine. You do you, but I don't do that. I will not try and make an excuse for it. I will not sugarcoat it. I will not say it's just business or whatever. I will say, hey, that fucking sucks. And it sucks for them. It sucks for us. It's a money move. This is what happens when the money guys that don't know anything about gaming win with their decisions. I think there's a million different things you could do before you actually just shut down an award-winning studio. So ultimately, is there a line? I mean, if there was a line, I would have been out in the Xbox One generation when they got down to like 4 studios, right? If there was a line, I would go that. But this is the opposite direction right now. This move, they had so much that they were building, so much they're doing, acquiring. They got ABK, such a huge battle of that. They are more secure as a company than ever before. They have more profit than ever before. They have more revenue than ever before. All these other kind of things. And then you see a move like this, it just doesn't make any damn sense unless you're just talking about what's important to them now, and it's the different kinds of games. Like, I see people like, you just got to root for the team, or like, you know, you sound like PlayStation guys or whatever, like that. I'm like, fuck that shit. Like, I'm a huge Cowboys fan. I'm a huge Mavericks fan. I'm a huge sports fan in general. If I see the Cowboys lose 2 fucking Pro Bowl players that I love, that are really good players, I'm going to say you're fucking stupid. If I see the Mavericks make a bad coaching decision in the game, like, or I think it was like game 3 or something, I can't remember, but like in the first series, the Clippers just started, like, James Harden started going crazy in the end of the game, and we had 2 fucking rim protectors on the bench just sitting there. Gafford and Derek Lively could have came in, and I'm sitting there being like, you're fucking stupid. I'm going to be critical, right? I'm not going to say, you know what, you know, you're still a great coach, you know, like, it's okay, like, whatever. I'm a fan, and I'm going to speak about the shit I actually care about. I like Xbox. I do. I prefer it. And when I see them make a dumbass decision like this, I'm going to say, you know what? That was fucking stupid. That was fucking stupid. Like, why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. It completely contradicts everything you've been saying about what you wanted to build. You got the pieces. Don't get rid of them now. You got the pieces. Build the fucking championship. Let's go. Don't fucking say, no, we don't need you anymore. You just fucking delivered one of the highest critical rated games in Xbox over the last decade. And all of a sudden, hey, you know what? It's going to be a while before your next hit. So bye. Doesn't make sense to me.
Us from Washington is the head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty. Matt, welcome.
Hi, Pete. How are you?
Good. Matt, for folks who may not be familiar
it is
with
what
you,
it is,
tell me a little
Mag.
bit
People
about
have been
what
giving
you
me
do
so
in
much
your
shit
career,
over
how
this,
you
but
got to
I don't.
Xbox.
Tell
us about
I'm not
that.
going to fucking
I've got the
lie and be
privilege
like,
of working
hey,
with all our
everybody,
teams across,
people are just being ridiculous. It doesn't fucking matter. All these ponies taking this fake outrage. All these Xbot pony guys. Oh, they're just like farming for engagement and shit like that. Oh, fuck that shit. You know, I don't care about any of that stuff. Anybody who's been following our channel from the get-go knows we will say whatever the fuck we want to say whenever we want to say it. We'll talk about whatever we want to talk about whenever we want to talk about it. And a lot of times we disagree with people, and we will go against the masses on that if we feel differently. If we agree with people, we're going to say it too. And I think 99% of the time here, we're way more positive about Xbox than the majority of people. We have been so anti doom and gloom here on this channel this entire year. Even like with Mag talking about like the stuff earlier on this year, Mag. Like, I see you talk about the games going to PlayStation, all that stuff, and we're like, hey, everybody, you know, it's just rumors right now. Like, it's just like, I'm not all about this doom and gloom. We've been all that shit all fucking year. All fucking year we've been anti doom and gloom on Xbox. We've been saying how awesome and just listen to our last fucking show. We're sitting here talking about how amazing Xbox is and how the summer showcase is going to be fucking incredible, and all this doom and gloom is going to switch over. People are going to be talking about Starfield and how awesome it is, because that's what I actually fucking believe. Right? It's what I actually think. But when we have studios actually get closed, something that really fucking matters, that has a direct impact on the games that we're going to be getting, on the amount of output that they can have, because they literally got rid of people that make games, we are talking about that, saying it's bad, and all of a sudden it's like, you're a pony. Oh, we're going to collect receipts because you're going to be excited about something with Xbox, and we're going to show the world how flip-floppy you are. Dude, open your fucking eyes. They just shut down 2 studios. It's okay to be critical if something like that happens. And it's not just, 4 studios. I'm only counting 2 because really there's 2 here that matter more than the others. But ultimately, I think it's a big deal. It is what it is. I'm not happy about it. You know, like it's ultimate. How much does it affect me? Not much. It's just completely. It's like a slap in the face about everything that they've been talking about over the years. It's a slap in the face about the last 5 years and everything they've been talking about building and doing and talking about, that we've been saying, hey, look at this. You know, it's awesome. All this shit's awesome. And they get a studio like Tango and they fucking shut them down a year after they produce Hi-Fi Rush. It's just shitty.
Xbox Game Studios, all the teams, all the studios, all the great people. Coming up on 11 years here at Xbox, working with the team and working with Phil, and had the good fortune to work on things like bringing Mojang into Xbox, and also many of the studios that we've added over the last 5 to 6 years.
Sorry, that studio, you said Mojang? It sounds familiar. Did they make anything?
Yeah.
Oh, the Minecraft guys, right.
Small team.
Yeah, maybe Minecraft.
Just
maybe
a little
you've heard
thing.
of it.
Just a little thing like Mojang. And Phil was mentioning that you're kind of the
These are like the
Katamari of
first
studios.
big bad
You've
things,
added how
really,
many
with
studios now
Microsoft
to Xbox
in a
Game
while,
Studios?
as far
6.
as the closures.
Yeah, well, we've grown quite a bit. We're at 15 now, so we've
Wow.
added 7 over the last few years.
7. That's
More than double.
That's one
If
of
you
many
retroact the
nicknames
math,
Phil's
11.
got for me. We won't
That's the
talk
only
about
one
the
I
other
was told I was allowed to use during this. So we'll go with that one. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you here. And also with us is my longtime friend, the man who's responsible for me being at Bethesda. Todd Vaughn recruited me to Bethesda back in 1999, our Senior Vice President of Development, Todd Vaughn. TV, I view you as the biggest unknown secret in this industry. You're a genius. And I want you to explain to folks who you are, when you got here, your background.
I actually started in the games industry with PC Gamer magazine. This was in the 90s. And I got recruited to join then Bethesda before ZeniMax. It was just right before.
I kind of want to skip forward until they go to the studios.
With you, and that makes you feel like it's such a good partnership. And we've been sitting here talking about what a great partnership it is. But from your perspective, head of development, you get to work with all of these studios. How do you see all of those things combining together in sort of a common DNA?
You know, if you look at some of the commonalities of all the studios that we've acquired over the last few years, I think the thing that stands out is that so many of them are creator-led. The founders are game designers, the founders are game creators, and most of the culture flows down from that creative aspect, from that game design aspect. You know, I think Todd Howard said it earlier, you know, games aren't made, they're played, right? And I think that resonates with most of our studios. As we've been having sort of get to meet you calls and spending more time with all of the Bethesda studios, it really has stood out that that's the same for your studios, that they are creator-led, they're design-led, and they also have such a focus on the players and bringing the players into that design process, making sure that once a game is out there, even that as it evolves,
Shane, it's because they acquired studios and then shut them down.
Part of what we do these days.
3 years later.
I think that's another real similarity that we've just got.
That's how you can be
fan
critical.
Focus, real player focus,
Like,
and that connects all
it's
the
not
way back up
rocket
to the top,
science,
where all of
you
our
know?
studios
Yeah, all
really
the other
start
stuff's amazing.
first
We
with
talk
the
about it all the
creator,
time.
designer, and the game idea.
I think as part of that, Matt, a lot of people don't realize.
This detracts
but you've set
from
up
that.
the structure as you've added Ninja Theory or Obsidian or NXI, all these different teams, like to allow them to have like almost like stay in a bubble, so they still have that ability to go create what they want to make. Like we don't tell them what games to make, but how would you describe that environment that you've learned from the Mojang piece, and then how will that apply as we think about integrating the Bethesda teams into our first party, you know, Xbox teams? How do you kind of think about that and how that makes better games?
You know, I think back to the Minecraft Mojang days. I think we were just a few days into it, and our CEO, Satya Nadella, said something. I think it was in an email. He said, you know, we have as much to learn from them as they have to learn from us. And that always has stuck with me.
Yeah, they didn't acquire them to shut them down, but
isn't to come in and sort of
they shut them down.
A culture on them. Games, I like to think about, it's almost like a greenhouse, right? The environment in which they're designed is so important, is so critical. And the last thing that we want to do is upset that. So there's very much a keep your ears open, keep your eyes open.
You don't want to upset
to learn
that
from this group of people that have been making games for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. There's obviously
3 years ain't that long.
We were talking yesterday, TV and Pete and I, about synergies between studios. And I obviously, having worked here for a long time, know about a lot of them. But he was even bringing up stuff that I didn't know about, you know, collaborating and learning from one another. And TV, I was hoping you could just share how we operate and share tech and ideas, because I think it's pretty interesting.
It frankly has evolved organically. You know, I think, you know, that idea of sort of like central planning and everybody, you know,
what is going to be
given or provided
the thought process from the other studios now?
Isn't
right?
quite the right approach, especially as how we've grown. We grew organically. We added teams over time. They came in with different bits of knowledge that we really didn't know that some groups had and some groups didn't. So we had to kind of figure things out as we went, and it led to sort of a lot of little happy surprises and collaborations that, frankly, you wouldn't plan for. You know, there's some little known facts of like teams who've worked on other projects. Machine Games is probably one of our most successful teams from a collaboration standpoint. They've probably worked on everything.
Pretty much at this point, yeah.
You know,
I'm going to skip forward a little bit.
I think it was probably either right before or when we were acquiring Machine Games. They were already working on Skyrim.
It's true. I mean, everyone that works at Bethesda is so passionate. Like, what better week could you spend than
I would imagine the morale is
really
tanked,
early
right?
looks at all the wonderful things that the creators are making. So it's not just taking a look at what each other is doing. It's meeting, the teams meeting with one another and sharing stories and techniques, and it's
you're making a recipe and there's like a head chef, but you've included everyone in the kitchen to kind of contribute and taste and contribute. And
there's a point in this where they go to each of the studios.
It's great.
I think this is
so I will tell you, Matt does something very similar with his teams. And I love the name of this meeting, Matt. Can you talk about the best meeting
company and be excited by that?
Questions, emailing other programmers like, how in the hell did you do that? We've been trying to do that forever. And so
and we don't put barriers.
Figured it out. Let's just talk and see if there's opportunities here. Okay, we're
Obsidian?
gonna stop there. Todd,
I think
Matt,
Obsidian's
thank you
safe.
both so much for taking time out of your
Obsidian's going to be safe.
Come on and
you
talk
know,
to us a little bit.
some of these
I know you
bigger
have
studios are going to be safe.
To go work with, so we'll let you go. As we start
What's
to
that, Sin?
introduce you to more of our family and all the different studios
There we
and
go.
games that Bethesda has and is bringing to the table. Los, you've been with me forever. You've worked with all of these studios. Where do we start?
I'd like to start from just about the beginning, a studio that I've had a privilege to work with for many, many years now. And those are the men and women at ZeniMax Online Studios, the creators of The Elder Scrolls Online.
A fantastic MMO. If you haven't played it, you're missing out. It's a massive world, a ton of content. You're an ESO.
Yeah,
I am. And
I don't
I'm always
like
blown
Jason
away
Schreier a
by-
lot. Like, I think there's been times when he's used the negativity or the bad things in the industry to promote his own self-gain with his books and stuff like that. And I remember the one thing was from Eric Lynn, who was a developer that had been previously worked on Halo. He'd made a comment. Jason Schreier went out and talked all about it out of context, didn't even ask for any direct comments from Eric Lynn, didn't even get his thoughts on what he had reportedly said, which had been translated in a, I think it was Japanese or Chinese, like magazine or something. And Jason Schreier ran with it to promote his book, right? To the detriment of Eric Lynn, and also with completely out of context conversations. Things like that, like from Jason Schreier, completely bother me. However, his reporting is usually accurate as far as his stuff and his insider knowledge and the people he talks to and his sources. he usually gets all this stuff right. And the stuff that he talked about today, I believe it. Like, I think that a lot of the stuff that he said today is just what's going on. And money guys are making the decisions now. It's no longer this vision where Xbox had this bubble and they were growing within it, and Phil had convinced them to invest and let's build this up and let's do all these things and stuff. It's like they had finally achieved what Phil wanted to do, and it's gotten to this point now where it's so big because of ABK and everything involved, and the money is so big that now you have these other bigger voices being like, no, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to cut costs, we got to figure this out, we got to figure this out because we got to maximize profits and all these kind of things. And it's retroactively damaging everything that they had been building before, to the point to where now the vision of everything they've been promising, promoting, is no longer the focal point. Now it's the big franchises, the assisting on those games, that has taken precedent. And what does that sound like? That sounds like an Activision Blizzard, a Take-Two, right? An EA, a Ubisoft kind of a move. And that's something that I was saying before that I feel like was the antithesis of what Xbox was. Like, they were building the ability with Game Pass and all these other things to have these different experiences and allow these developers to kind of have the security to be able to make the things that they wanted to make. And that's what they had sold us.
How big the world is. Like, as a player, and that's kind of my only association with it, other than just seeing how amazing it's doing on Game Pass right now. But like the amount of diversity in that world, I love playing. Great community. The players are so helpful. People like helping me get through, leveling up my characters. Fantastic game. Can't wait to hear more from the team.
Absolutely. It's been a huge success, amazing community, and let's hear more from the folks at ZeniMax Online right now.
Hey, I'm Matt Fyrour.
By the way, I have a feeling, because I think they're about to mention it a little bit here. I have a feeling this could finally be the year we're going to see what ZeniMax Online's next game is. Since as management amongst the Xbox division appears to operate in a bubble instead of cohesively, the marketing department is proof positive of my statement. I think there's a lack of within Xbox management in general. And I think it goes into more of a Microsoft issue, not necessarily Xbox. I think Xbox within themselves, like the high-ups within Xbox, have like a cohesiveness of what they understand they want to do. But I think the problem is when it gets into the funding and the actual conversations with corporate of Microsoft itself, and there's like a lack of cohesiveness to where it's like Microsoft understands the money of it and the investment of it, but they don't really care about what matters in gaming, right? Whereas some of the Xbox leadership does. And there's a conflict there instead of a cohesiveness. I think the conflict has stemmed now because of the amount of money involved, with ABK now being a part of Xbox. And beforehand, it was small enough that it was a growing lesser part of Microsoft. Right, but once you surpass Windows and Windows gets put under your umbrella, the Surface division gets put under your umbrella, and you're this one bigger entity that's this huge pillar of Microsoft, those Microsoft money guys have more control over the decisions that are going on than before. And there's only so much Phil Spencer can do, even maybe Satya, right? But I think that's why I'm disappointed that they weren't able to convince what the rest of what is the most important thing for the brand and for Xbox going forward is not to shut down these studios. And that's the most disappointing thing for me.
Call it. Short history lesson. Back in 2007, ZOS was
ZeniMax Online is safe right now. I think they have a games of service game. They're Gucci.
Just a one studio publisher. And unlike the others who came later,
and they got another
we
one
were built
coming
from the ground up with a specific goal of creating massive online games. The first of which was to be set in the Elder Scrolls world. Back in the day, as a fellow DC area game
they come out with like an expansion every year. I'm gonna skip past them. 343 safe because they're working on the next big Halo thing. Well, you know, I'm not gonna say anybody's safe anymore.
Wow,
really.
I love that. I mean, it's so great to hear directly from the creator and to think what they've achieved in 7 years, right? And
you want to be real about why Arkane Austin and Tango Gameworks are gone? You just want you want the real truth, right? Just the honesty of why they're gone now. Because those teams delivered their games. They aren't going to make any more big money for a while for Xbox, for Microsoft. And when they're looking at things to get rid of and trimming the fat or whatever, they're saying like, well, it's going to be a long time before we see any returns from those studios. So, toodaloo. That's what it comes down to. It's basically what it said in Schreier's report.
They're the #1 multi-plat online.
These studios that they've been investing in for years,
we've seen it grow on Xbox,
that have not produced their games yet. They probably are going to wait for them to put stuff out before they get rid of them.
Journey, and again, that community.
That's why some people are speculating on Ninja Theory. Let's hope it's successful. But they have more than one project, so
if you feel
maybe
like
you're safe.
Ready to make the leap, they're ready to help you and have a great time. All right, so Losi said that was a homegrown sort of internal studio that we started after Bethesda Game Studios. As TB mentioned before, the first acquisition we ever made was the creators of the first-person shooter genre in id Software. Doom,
id safe.
Quake. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable. Even
God tier. I mean, let's be honest.
They are best of the best.
First shooter I ever played on a PC, like on a floppy disk. Like how they got 3D graphics working back in the day. I mean, it's just, and how they've taken that and modernized it. The reboot in 2016, Doom Eternal winning, you know, so many Game of the Year awards. It's just incredible the legacy that they've had. And I tell you, there's a lot of Xbox fans excited.
Well, when you talk about passion, it's hard to find folks who are more passionate.
It's hard to get excited for any potential future Xbox acquisitions now, isn't it?
And his amazing team at id Software.
Hi, I'm Marty Stratton, Studio Director at id Software.
Oh, that's interesting, Mag.
We celebrated our studio's 30th anniversary.
Id, you're safe. Doom Year Zero probably be announced hopefully this year. I don't know when.
Stability, investment in our people and studios.
Id
has provided our sister studios and can't wait to now expand that relationship.
Of the studio, which is amazing, but you can see it in Doom Eternal.
Safe for now.
There's no studio that sweats every pixel on screen of every frame the way it does. Like, it's just so clear.
It's like you spent time with them.
Spend time with the games, and it just pops. Like, it's so clear. And then when you think about their capability, and I think about them collaborating and working and talking with the Coalition and 343 and just like the first-person shooter, third-person shooter space.
They definitely shouldn't. I don't know. I'm not going to be talking about acquisitions for a while.
The other thing I get really excited about with id that we haven't really talked a lot about is the future of id tech. And what could that mean inside of Xbox? Obviously, you know, we've got a ton.
Yeah, that's another reason I think it is safe. These studios that are like more, like I saw some speculation on Turn 10 because of the disappointment in Forza. That's kind of, I love Forza. I think it could use some improvements, right? But overall, the sentiment is there's like a disappointment in Forza Motorsport, and maybe it's not performing like it could have, and all those kind of things. But I think Turn 10 is more safe than anything because of the engineer behind it, the engineering of the engines and stuff like that within racing. Even Horizon uses a lot of that technology from Turn 10. So I think Horizon they see as a big moneymaker and investment for them going forward as well.
On id tech, and I just think about that to the next level. Like, what can we do inside of our organization with id tech, which is one of the world's best game engines out there, and just make it a tool that so many developers can use to realize their vision.
With id, it's amazing because we didn't just get this like incredible library of IP. We got all these amazing people who are so meticulous, as you can tell through their games, but we also inherited things like QuakeCon. And it's been
QuakeCon's gonna be back. They just announced it. It's August.
Marty mentioned,
and
showing off Doom 2016.
It's more of a bring your own computer type event, but they've announced games there before, so we'll see what happens.
Was
reciprocate and say, hey, we're down. Like we won't take screenshots or videos, or it's part of what I think makes all of this so special.
One of my favorite moments over the last 16 years, for sure.
For sure. And you know, as we said, id Software was the first acquisition we made, but that sort of started the snowball pretty quickly. And shortly after that, we had Machine Games come on board, both of the studios at Arkane in Lyon and in Austin, and then Tango down in Japan was sort of 1, 2, 3 right afterwards. So let's talk a little bit about all of those studios coming on board and what they do, because, you know, Phil, you were just talking about shooters, which is something obviously id knows very much, but their tech and their work went across all of those studios I just mentioned. You know, Machine Games coming in and rebooting Wolfenstein, this iconic franchise.
Community of players.
Machine Games making Indiana Jones.
To the earliest days of Bethesda, long before we became part of the family, I believe Bethesda's culture really began with the creative freedom and support for Bethesda game studios and the games they make.
I wonder how all these different developers feel right now.
Always understood the value of allowing creatives to be creative. That we in our studios are the owners of what we do, so we always feel deeply invested in everything we make. Of course, that comes with its own pressures, but from the very beginning we knew Bethesda would always have our backs. In fact, everyone here felt that trust instantly when we joined.
Do they feel that about Microsoft now?
When we were trusted to take Wolfenstein,
we have to
this iconic
think about
pioneering first-person franchise created by id Software, and give it a fresh start. We wanted to make it our own, while still maintaining that id Software DNA of fast-paced action shooters with a somewhat violent theme, but made with a sense of humor. As a huge fan of id Software and given their history with some of the most classic our version of BJ Blazkowicz as he fought Nazis around the world.
You still got some Nazi fighting killing skills.
Let's go forward to
how we laid out the plans for our first game, Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Next studio. That guy's that guy. He's in charge of
co-creative director at Arkane Austin.
Oof. Sorry, Harvey. Yeah, I think he's in charge of Indiana Jones right now. This guy is probably
early on when we were working on Dishonored. We had these meetings at Bethesda, you know, to sort of pitch what we had done, show off the most recent milestone. And there was a moment when one of the execs asked about some of the stranger elements that we had in it, sort of 1850s steampunk or gas lamp kind of stuff, and complimented it, really liked it. And we looked at each other at the time and said, you know, we've kind of been holding back. We love those elements too. We think they're what make the game really distinct. And the advice we were given wasn't be conservative or be safe. It was like double down on that. And so once we were given that green light, we just rolled hard into what people started calling the whale punk aesthetic of the game. The type of games that we work on, you know, they're a blend of first-person shooter and RPG. Not fully one or the other, but there's something distinct, something in the middle. We love simulated elements, from the AI to the physics to the player's powers and movement abilities, and the way those things can interact in manners that we didn't even foresee. The environmental storytelling, the locations that we put so much love and lore into. There are also characters in all our games that are very important to us. Mindy Blanchard was an important character for us. We launched a game with Billy Lurk, which we were very proud to do. We love that character. Standing on the stage at the Bethesda showcase and announcing to the world Dishonored 2, and we rolled out Emily Caldwin as a protagonist for the first time, and it was just a super exciting moment. And the response we got from players, especially women who at the time didn't have as many representational avatars, all of that is just super important to us. It's not quite the same game that any other person would make, and to have the right partners that support us through that is just critical. And it's really the culture that Bethesda set up, that Robert Altman set up, that makes us feel safe to run in the directions we want to run in. So for us, being part of Xbox is very similar to when Arkane first joined with Bethesda. You know, it was like, hey, here's a partner we trust, here's a partner who wants to make good games, and it's just like you can't do creative work unless you feel like somebody has your back.
Wow.
Somebody's setting up the right environment for you.
Oh.
And at the end of the day, at the end of your career, it's not about, you know, which awards you won or how much money you made. It's really about those moments where the players tell you what it was like for them to experience a particular character or particular combat or a particular stealth moment. It's just so powerful when they talk about how the game has impacted them and their lives. Our goal is just to keep doing what we love and keep making players happy.
Hi, I'm Dinga Bakaba, I'm game director at Arkane Lyon, and I believe I have a different
Dinga had
perspective
some
to
things
share
to say,
because
didn't he?
I joined Arkane after Bethesda acquired us. I joined a studio that I admired deeply because they made a very specific type of game that some call immersive sims. And I will admit, I was concerned. Would Bethesda allow Arkane to keep doing the kind of games we make?
The beloved Empress dead.
Yeah, it's hard. That's why I wanted to play this, guys. I mean, like, yeah, 3 years, you can say it's a long time. It's really not that long. They've only had a chance to finish the little projects that they had going on, or the projects they had going on that were already deeper in development. Literally under Xbox now, Tango Gameworks and Arkane Austin never had a chance to really do something big and grand and new. And that's a possibility we'll never see.
Remember our first midwinter meeting. It's where the heads
because
of
it was going to take too long.
In Maryland, they present their current projects to the entire company. It's when I discovered Skyrim and Wolfenstein: The New Order, The Evil Within, Elder Scrolls Online. You know, and yes, Dishonored was there, and we were super proud of showcasing it. So my first thought was, wow.
I'm super excited for Dinga to be in charge of Blade.
We are not the exception here. At Arkane, we, you know, all these
just hope he doesn't
are
leave.
doing exactly what they should be doing, each in their own way.
There's some positive sentiment from behind the scenes about early feedback on Blade.
We've collaborated with Machine Games several times, helping out on the new Colossus, co-developing Youngblood, which is nice because it was always a choice, not a demand. We made connections, we shared our mutual admiration, and it was an opportunity to learn from each other while supporting each other's artistic vision and goals. But I do have one major challenge that might only get worse as we join the Xbox family. I still get pretty starstruck around my peers. Like, for instance, I become extremely awkward when I talk with Todd Howard or Shinji Mikami-san, and maybe they cannot tell because I'm so French, but it's pretty bad. So yeah, I just want to warn everyone at Xbox. Now I get to be weird and awkward with you all.
A week from now, this will all be forgotten, Magnum says. I don't think so, bro. I appreciate the member for 6 months chat.
I'm Shinji Mikami.
Also, real quick, before Shinji, who's also gone. Triz, you know what it is? Member for 1 month said Phil and Satya will have to answer to investors. Well, investors would probably be pretty happy, right? This is what it's all. That's what it was all about.
From Tokyo, Tango Gameworks. 僕たち、タンゴのスタッフは、約10年前に、ここ東京で、若いスタッフを中心として、新しいゲームをどんどん作っていこう。そして新しい、クリエイターの人たちにチャンスを与えようというところでスタートを切りました。それからベセスタさんとは非常にいいリレーションシップを構築しながらここまで来ました。で、この度、Xbox の人たちと一緒に仕事するっていうことで、今後どういう化学反応が起きるかっていうことに対して非常に僕たちはエキサイティングしています。今後の僕たちはまず僕たちクリエイターが面白いものを作る、でそしてそれ以上にお客さんの満足、高い満足をすごく重要視したゲーム作りをしていきたいと思っています。なんでよろしくお願いします。We look forward to join Xbox family. Thank you.
First of all, I just have to say it's so nice to see all their faces. I know it's on video, but I miss them all. I've had this unique privilege of being able to travel the world, to spend time with these studios, and I don't know if everyone knows that we have all these studios around the world, so it's...
And we have this interesting thing where we look for some sort of common DNA, I guess you would say, in terms of what they're about or what they're trying to do, but you can also tell in listening to these folks, like, well, in one video, you've got the guy who invented survival horror, some folks who took Wolfenstein, which had no dialogue, and suddenly it's got tons of story
more
and
studios,
character and
too.
Arkane, what they do. Like, it's that sort of being able to diversify while still having some sort of core DNA and some shared identities.
Yeah, definitely as you're watching all of the pieces, you feel some common threads that come out. One is trust and confidence. Robert's mentioned a lot the way that Bethesda supported teams to do new things. And we've said this in Xbox as we've been planning for this moment for so long. This is an opportunity for us to learn as an organization from a team that's done work incredibly well. You've worked with such a diverse set of studios, giving them a sense of confidence, and you heard the stories that allow them to go and try new creative things in different ways, not stay safe. Like, that's the goal as a platform holder, and the aspiration that we have. We don't need 15 games that are trying to do the same thing. We would like to try 30 different things across 15 different games. It's even more now when you think about all the studios. So I love just listening and learning from what you and the teams have built, and hearing the sense of confidence that the teams have of we can go try to do new things, we can go work with another partner that we have and learn from that. Really amazing work, and I just can't wait to learn more and more about how you've done that over the years.
Now, I do want to highlight one thing, which is we have 2 more studios that we haven't talked about yet, and there's a reason for that, which is, well, they're not working on games that we're ready to talk about, and they just acquired, but we need to mention our colleagues up in Wisconsin and in Nova Scotia as well.
Yes, so Roundhouse Studios joined us last year, and like Pete said, they're in Wisconsin, and then...
The Roundhouse was formerly Human Head Studios. Their name was changed when they transitioned. They actually made the original Prey. Also other games.
And we also added another mobile studio to the family called Alpha Dog, and so we're not quite ready to talk about what they're up to.
Ooh, I like it. Teams working on secret projects. Come on, that's what everyone...
Plus, they have amazing hockey jerseys. Alpha Dog makes studio high. Well, they're in Nova Scotia, and they're amazing. They're the envy of everybody else.
Texas to Nova Scotia.
We cover everything.
Phil's ready, right? You ready to go to Nova Scotia, Phil?
I'm ready to go to Tokyo.
He just mentioned Mesquite.
Yeah, I mean, go see Tango, a studio that I just have citrus.
Ready to talk about what they did us last year, and like Pete said, they're in Wisconsin, and then we also added another mobile studio to the family called Alpha Dog, and so we're not quite ready to talk about what they're up to.
Ooh, I like it. Teams working on secret projects. Come on, that's what everyone...
Plus, they have amazing hockey jerseys. Alpha Dog makes studio high.
And people forget that Roundhouse was originally working on a game. They weren't just supporting ZeniMax Online and stuff. So somewhere along the line in the last 3 years, they canceled Alpha Dog's game, and it had them just be a support studio for ZeniMax Online, which for me, that was also a bad thing. That's a very big publisher type situation. I would rather them have their own game, right, that they had been working on. They actually have a history of making some solid games in the past as well. So, like, when we look at Roundhouse and people say, oh, you capping for Roundhouse, all that stuff, we don't know what Roundhouse could have been. Yeah, Roundhouse got merged now into ZeniMax Online. They're just lost their identity. Now they're just continued being what they had become, which is support for ZeniMax Online. So now they're just ZeniMax Online. Alpha Dog did put out Mighty Doom, which they had already been working on. Yeah, but that's a mobile game too, and that we're going to be a mobile studio going forward. But Roundhouse is the one that I'm kind of would like to have seen what they were been capable of. Now it's not as big of a loss as like Tango or Arkane Austin, I think, when you look at the production or what, but we'll never know 100% because we don't know what they were going to make. what the secret project was that they had, that they were originally creating, that had been canned at some point.
They're in Nova Scotia, and they're amazing. They're the envy of everybody else.
Texas to Nova Scotia.
We cover everything.
Phil's ready, right? You ready to go to Nova Scotia, Phil?
I'm ready to go to Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Why did
go see
Aaron
Tango,
mention the
studio that I
Mesquite?
have such respect for the history of the creations there. I've talked for a long time about our desire to have more of a first-party presence in Japan. This is a great step there. So, I mean, just thinking about the map of where these teams are, and just talking about all the games.
Ooh, this
they're
is about
working
to
on,
burn.
but I can't wait to spend more time with the Tango team and get to know them.
You may have forgotten about one
You
important
can't
studio
wait
that we
to
haven't heard from yet.
the Tango
Oh,
team.
Bethesda Game Studios. You wanted to talk about them?
Yes, I know we had Todd here with us earlier, but Ashley also shared some messages with us about the studio there and their thoughts on this partnership.
So ultimately,
Hi, I'm Ashley.
yeah, Bethesda Game Studios, you know, I think we've seen the studios that are being lost here. I just want some more thoughts from Phil overall. What else does Phil have to say?
So, Phil, as Ashley mentioned, obviously a big part of our relationship really is owed to the Morrowind product and us working with you all and saying, hey, we're going to stop doing just PC-only stuff and try this console thing and see how that works out.
You know, for me, as a player of your games,
Yeah, you can find it
you've
on
always
my
challenged
channel,
yourself. If I
Shane.
think about whether it's bringing a traditional PC genre to console, the work you've done around
A lot of
VR,
the
around
content I
streaming.
had over 3 years ago was very early, and I was not as good, obviously, at even speaking or whatever. Not that I'm saying I'm even decent now, but like back then I was still talking about what Xbox was building and how I believed in it. The moves yesterday contradict a lot of that.
Around modding on console. Like, it's hard for us as a platform to think about the pushes that we've had from a publisher who said, we want to go try something. And at first, of course, we're defensive. Well, I don't know about that. Then we start to think and work together. So many of those innovations, not just for Xbox, but in the game industry, were born right here at Bethesda. And I think about the path forward and that continued push for us to evolve our platform and service is going to be fantastic.
Well, and I think that's part of where some of that excitement comes from, right? Which is being a developer and having this kind of passion and even getting to work more closely hand in hand with the folks who are making those decisions, pushing those technologies, whether it's streaming or console power or whatever it is, that, you know, it is different when you're inside versus external. I mean,
one of the things Todd and I were actually talking about this morning was to be able to sit down with the teams here and go through our 10-year roadmap, which almost by definition is wrong because we don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now, but we have an idea.
Like, they don't know what's going to happen 3 years from now,
Full
apparently.
disclosure with stuff that's just kind of crazy spaghetti on the wall ideas and stuff obviously that's sooner, that's a little more solid, hopefully, and to share that with you and get the feedback. I think Sarah did a good job talking about the fact that we used to always bring our console here first. We'd bring it under a shield of darkness, and then bring it, and then watch Todd give us kind of the thumbs up and thumbs down on the design of our console. You know, but that's feedback because when you're inside of your own bubble, it's easy to believe what you've done. And we talk about these trust bubbles of everybody on the team and what we believe. You heard it in the pieces here of your studios have a trust bubble with themselves. They're willing to share stuff with their sibling studios and get that feedback. And to me, this just expanded the smart people that we can talk to about the plans that we have that have a shared vision of where gaming's going.
all right. Anything else? Did we cover it all, those?
I think so. I'm just incredibly excited for the future. I'm so happy that you took the time to come visit us here in Maryland. I look forward to learning from you, from working with you on this summer event that we've promised now. It's just, the future's exciting.
Well, we officially can start working together.
What's up, Boy
today,
Rush?
right? This is day one. And,
First meeting right after this.
and it's genuine. What Phil says, like, don't be shy. Give us
The first meeting after this. Hey guys, I know we all just said this stuff, but just 3 years after, you know, Hi-Fi Rush launches, and we already get Redfall out, you know, just don't count on Arkane Austin and Tango actually being part of this. Just let you know.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic part.
Aaron, any final thoughts?
No, I just, listen, you know, I'm the marketing guy, so I'm just going to sort of say, listen, this is the start. So I would say that we haven't got everything figured out yet. We're now officially able to work together. I think what we've achieved between the teams, to have 20 games to be able to go in as a gift for fans to celebrate this moment is really special. That is a lot of work. We're trying to get these up, and a lot of these are older games that we're getting up and running on PC Game Pass.
You think? I think it'd be hard for them to get another Japanese studio. Like, could you imagine like what the other studios in Japan would feel like being a part of Xbox now after they shut down Tango? Well, it's like if they can have a critically successful game like Hi-Fi Rush and still get shut down, like why would we want to be a part of Xbox? Like, I think it makes it more difficult for them to expand in the East when they got rid of their only one.
And so I think we're really excited about that. As Aaron said, we're excited to go jointly work on stuff together as we think about big beats together. We think about all these studios under one umbrella. We talked about, some of the greatest RPGs ever made, the greatest RPG creators now, all part of one team.
Maybe, Brett, maybe they go out and get a whole other publisher.
Beyond
I don't know.
that, the innovation and the creativity and the deep
It'll be a while.
storytelling. And so it's just an incredible time to be an Xbox gamer and to be in this industry. And so I couldn't be more excited.
Same. Feel the same. Phil?
I'll start, and I know this is something we're doing for everybody to watch, but I'd be remiss if I didn't start with the teams here and what a commitment we have, and I have personally, to building an environment and a culture where creators feel like they can absolutely do their best work. And that is something that's at our core. It's something that Robert and I talked a lot about leading into this, of how do we go create a world-class creative organization together, and kind of in his memory, I want to deliver on that. And I have a commitment to that, to the teams here. And the result of that for the millions of people who love playing games, who love what we're doing at Xbox, is that you're going to get an amazing set of games to go play. From genres across the board, as you said, Aaron, amazing detail, the concentration on the craft. And this is all about the mission that we have of the power of play, to unite people across the planet. 3 billion people playing video games. We want to ensure that anybody who wants to will be able to experience the great games that we're going to build together. Whether that's the technology that we're pushing on, or business models to ensure that more people have access to the voices of different creators with different perspectives telling their stories on our platform. I'm just a fundamental believer in the power of video games to help bring this planet closer together, and I think it's a time when we need it, and I love what we're going to be able to do together here.
Perfectly said. We're so excited for this partnership and to get going. We've been chomping at the bit for a while, and can't wait. We got some really exciting stuff coming down the pipe. So thank all of you for joining us today. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to
For me, the hardest thing to watch is seeing Arkane Austin talk, Tango Gameworks talk, them mentioning Alpha Dog and Roundhouse, but mainly when you saw was Harvey Smith and Shinji Mikami talking about the trust, the creative, being able to make the things that they want to make and the visions and stuff like that. The trust that they have with Xbox, like they had when they joined Bethesda to begin with, and seeing that kind of come to fruition over the last 3 years, what actually transpired yesterday. It's kind of like, I don't know. I know this was 3 years ago, right? Or a little over 3 years ago, but for me, that's not that long, especially when you talk about how long it takes to make these games. I think overall, ABK changed the organization of Xbox and under Microsoft. Said a lot early on when ABK was going to be a part of it, Xbox, that it was a transformational acquisition. What I didn't really expect in my mind, was the transformation as much with the control of power over the decisions going forward. I saw it more as something that was going to even strengthen what they're able to do more. Something that was going to strengthen the position that they were in the industry, strengthen their financials, and take the pressure even more off of the individuals because of the system that they have in place within the Game Pass ecosystem, on having this ability to not have all the pressure just on the one game and the return on investment of actual sales. Is more about engagement. It's about what it means to the platform. Yeah, obviously, not a game like Pentament's not going to have 20 million people playing it, 30 million people in the first year, or any kind of crazy thing like that, right? A game like Hi-Fi Rush, even, for sure. But what was promised or talked about for a long time with Game Pass, and what it was going to do, was allow these creators to make those kind of games and have a safe place to put them without that level of pressure, because it was more about the collective of all these games in the ecosystem, as opposed to weighing the individual sales on one game, because ultimately Game Pass is going to be somewhat of a detriment to sales on first-party games. Like, if you put a game in there that has a subscription that has over 30 million people now subscribing to it, a lot of those people that may have decided to buy the game before are not going to. Maybe some other games get more promotion and marketing because of it, and they do better than they ever would have before. But for these big first-party games that are being marketed and being touted and all this kind of stuff, a lot of the times, they're going to weigh things more on metrics of engagement. Remember, Phil talked about this numerous times, about how they weigh the success. And it's not necessarily the dollars of the amount of money the games are making. It's about the engagement, the amount of people that are playing them, and they weigh that. And according to them before, Hi-Fi Rush had met every metric of success and expectations that they had for that game. This is not a failure of Hi-Fi Rush. It's a failure of the idea that Xbox had originally, that they were going to be able to have this model and to keep pushing it forward, in spite of the money people making decisions that are not counting all of this stuff, that are not looking at the entire picture. I see a lot of people now advocating for Call of Duty not to go into Game Pass, for Game Pass to go away because of these things. It is something that I think has galvanized Xbox, and we've seen that with the financials of the ability to stay profitable with recurring revenue and amount of money they make, despite not having a ton of first-party games dropping over the last couple of years, to be able to maintain and still grow and be profitable company. It's been because of things like Game Pass and the services that they've been offering. And games like Hi-Fi Rush and other games like that are something that help promote that, and have been a staple of the kind of value that Game Pass can provide, of what Xbox can achieve from these developers and the creative freedom that they've been allowing them to have. When they gave Psychonauts 2 more time for Double Fine, they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush to the surprise of many, and it turned out to be a huge critical success, which I think could have even been more sales, or even more engagement with a sequel. But when we see the reports come out that I think are accurate, the decision making on why they're not moving forward with the studios is because the amount of time it's going to take for them to make another project. That's where you kind of lose the plot here of what it's all about. Like, what does that mean for their future plans? What has their future plans shifted enough to where those games in the future don't matter? don't you want those studios to keep making games to add to Game Pass over time? Isn't that what it's been about, is adding value and adding things to the ecosystem? And to see people now saying, oh, don't put Call of Duty in Game Pass, it's bad, you know, all that kind of stuff. I look as a consumer, they just told us they were doing that. Like, for me, I look at it like, why would I care about the $3 trillion company not making as much profit? And if you say, oh, so things like this don't happen. So we're going to advocate for just higher profits on $3 trillion corporations so they don't make horrible, bad decisions and take games away from something they've been promoting and promising a vision of for years and years. The money guys are winning that much. And I think the money guys are wrong. Because if you do all this, you add all these things and you keep making games and you keep putting stuff out there, you really support these studios, and overall they keep adding stuff to Game Pass, that's something that grows over time. That's something that adds value over time. That's something that was the reason why they kept saying they wanted to get Activision Blizzard, was to add all those things to Game Pass as well. And now to say that the games like Hi-Fi Rush don't matter when it's been about what mattered before. Now they're rolling other studios into just being support studios. They're going to move some people into support. Like, that's big publisher corporate stuff that we've argued against companies like Activision Blizzard before. When they acquired Activision Blizzard, I didn't want them to become Activision Blizzard. I wanted them to help turn Activision Blizzard into what the vision of Microsoft was going in general already. Moves like this fly in the face of that. That's what we talked about. The second, it's what even Phil talked about. The second they announced they were acquiring Activision Blizzard, couldn't wait to meet the teams and talk about the things that they want to make and greenlight different games they never would have been able to make before. What about Tango? They literally just did that. So how do we believe? How do the other studios believe? How does anybody that's not just a money guy believe now the vision of what they've been talking about for years? That's the biggest problem here. Did the vision change that much with ABK to where everything they've been building before, all these things that we just saw them talk about, building that trust, having the creative visions, delivering on them, supporting these studios to be able to make their games and all this stuff, none of that matters anymore. It's just about dollars and cents on having the biggest games be successful and making the most money for those games. Nothing else matters. Game Pass, it's not a factor anymore. It's interesting because, you know, it's something that we've been talking about and promoting and believed in for years. And because also I thought it was the best way for Xbox, like money-wise, to grow and to keep adding that value. It was value to the consumer is going to be the best way forward. If you were to say 3 years ago, within 3 years, they're going to shut down Tango Gameworks and like the half of the biggest part of Arkane, I would have been, don't acquire ZeniMax Bethesda. Let somebody else acquire them. Because those studios deserve to keep making games. Maybe it never wouldn't have worked out with somebody else. I don't know. But that's part of the reason why they were acquired, is to help add that stability and security. At least that's what they said. They're gone now. And I ain't going to sugarcoat that shit. The sugar-coated shit still tastes like shit. I don't care what you say. Anybody saying it doesn't matter, that, you know, who cares really? You know, it's just Tango and Arkane. You know, what they really do. Oh, they're not huge financial successes anyway. Doesn't really matter. Fuck it. Think about yourself in the games. and the people that are making the games are no longer able to do that under the umbrella of the Xbox ecosystem. They literally just got rid of 4 studios that could do that. This is the opposite of an acquisition. When we get super excited about the things that are added to Xbox and all these things, like, oh my God, could you believe what they're going to be able to do? All these games are going to be coming out. All these games will be going to Game Pass. All these games are going to be dropping. Like, all that stuff. Yeah, we get excited about it. Then when they close these studios, it's the opposite. It's less. When it's a detraction from Xbox, from Game Pass. Because even if we were going to have to wait for the next thing, well, I mean, it's not going to happen. And, you know, Arkane Austin was still supporting Redfall. And I don't care if you don't like Redfall or if you think nobody's playing it, so it doesn't matter. I'm still somebody that says you got to stand up and deliver on the promises that you make and the purchases that people had for your product. When they delivered Redfall, it was not good at launch. They did some great updates. They added the 60 frames mode. They added some enemy density and all this stuff. Now I think it's a fun game now. I can say I actually kind of like Redfall now, right? But they were going to be delivering all the extra content that they had promised to players at launch with the extra content that they had sold, and there was more big updates coming. And now they're just like, nope, we're giving up on that. That is so anti everything that they've been doing for years. Is Turn 10 safe, Nate Dogg says? I think so, because they are very good with the engines, right? And they have the Forza, was it Forza Tech, or no, what's the fucking engine called? I can't even remember the name of the engine off the top. They're behind the engine that drives Forza Horizon and also the Forza Motorsport. So I think ultimately Turn 10 is safe, right? Shane says you're getting keep it real props. I never want to get keep it real props. Never go full keep it real. Dude, I always fucking keep it real with what I think. If you don't want to keep it real, like, what do you want to do? You want to be fake? I don't understand. You just want to be fake? What? It doesn't make any damn sense, bro. Like, so maybe even when I'm wrong, it's still what I think. And if somebody doesn't agree with it, they'll probably not say keep it real. But if somebody does, then they will. But like, I'm just fucking saying what I think. Well, you want people to say, hey, keep being a fake ass shill, motherfucker. Let's go. Yeah, we love that. You fake ass piece of shit. Let's go, man. Let's keep it fake around here. Yeah, we just chilling for the sake of it. That's what we do. That's what we do around here. Keep it fake. Let's go. Yeah, never talk shit. Never be critical. Never be critical. We can't do that around here. We can't diss Xbox. We can't say when they do something bad. No, we can't do that. We can't criticize not Xbox. Oh, they just give us too much. Let's not ever be critical about something that we like. We can't do that. We gotta keep it fake around these parts, guys. Let's keep it fucking fake. Let's go. Hey guys, I'm gonna keep it fake for you guys, okay? That's because that's what we're doing here in Fun Speculation Town. We're gonna keep it fake. You know what? It doesn't matter. Who cares, right? I mean, Redfall, it was a flop anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we losing? Arkane Austin? Oh, come on. I mean, it's not like they made other games like Prey and stuff like that before. Redfall? Yeah, it's trash. Just get them out of here. They should, you know what? They should have already been closed. They're lucky to have gotten 2 more years, at least. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Tango Gameworks? Shinji was already out. They already saw the writing on the wall. You know what I mean? Tango, they weren't going to produce anything. Hi-Fi Rush, it wasn't even a success. Who cares about Hi-Fi Rush? Nobody played it anyway. Oh, let's just get rid of Tango. You know, who cares about them, right? Oh, fuck it. They weren't going to be making anything else anyway. You know, I think it just doesn't matter. It's just like PlayStation. They just cancel studios and close studios. Also, why do people even talk about Xbox? Oh, yeah, let's chill. You know, I think ultimately, guys, it just doesn't matter, right? Not a big deal. It's just studios closed that were making games, right? We should just be lucky. We should just be thankful. Thankful to the Xbox gods and Microsoft that they allow us to be a part of their ecosystem. All hell, Phil Spencer, the mighty God himself, for allowing us to be part of your kingdom and play your games that you see fit to exist in your ecosystem. All hail you, sir. I will shill you to the end of time, never be critical of you ever again. I shill at your feet. I keep it fake for you, Master Phil. Yeah, you want some contradictory shit here, bro? Shane? When I was shitting on Redfall saying it was bad at launch, right? When I was saying that it should not have launched in that state, your ass and other people were being critical of us for saying how bad the game is. Now that Arkane Austin is gone, y'all are saying, Redfall was shit anyway. Who cares? From the get-go, when we talked about Redfall, one of the things that we talked about was the promise that Microsoft always usually lets their developers deliver and keep supporting their games, and eventually it would be a good game. Or were your ears clogged during all of that shit? Because I think they may have been. Selective listening is a powerful thing. We literally had a show where we went to praise Redfall again after the last update, saying how much we liked it. And then we were criticized for that. Oh, how could you dare say anything good about Redfall now? I swear, sometimes just saying what you think or what you feel is always going to be seen as you're being fake, or you're just chilling, or you're just saying what you want for clicks or whatever. When they close fucking studios, it is a bad thing, right? If it doesn't matter to you, okay, right? But you're going to go and criticize and lump people into people that are always overly critical or are always saying negative shit all the time. That's bullshit, right? You listen to our content this entire year, all the doom and gloom going on around Xbox. All the doom and gloom going around about them taking games to other platforms, all this other stuff going on. We're sitting there being like, I can't stand all this doom and gloom shit. It is what, like, people are going to speak their minds and stuff. There's a lot of fake stuff out there, all this kind of stuff. But we're super excited for Xbox going forward. All of the things that they're talking about, all of these games coming. The summer showcase is going to be fucking amazing. Everybody's going to be excited again once they have that. We've been hyping that shit up literally even on the last show that we had. But when they actually close studios, it deserves criticism. They get it into your fucking brain. They shut down studios that were making critical success games. If anything, we get criticized for being overly positive all the time, even from Xbox fans, even on other shows and all this stuff. They get annoyed sometimes because of how overly positive we are, because I really believe in what Xbox is doing. But I am not going to sugarcoat Tango Gameworks getting shut down. You can call it doom and gloom. You can call it whatever you want. But it's a bad move, bro. Like, it's bad. It's bad for Xbox. I think it's bad for the gamers. I think it's obviously bad for the developers. It's bad for any potential acquisitions they want to make in the future. It's bad for Game Pass. It's bad on numerous different scenarios. And you want to chill and say, well, this is the reason why. It's just because of money. You know, it's just money, right? It's just money. Oh, that doesn't make sense. It's money. I don't give a fuck about their money. I give a shit about the people that make the games and the games that we're getting to play and the value that we get as consumers in the Xbox ecosystem. And this flies in the face of that. It detracts from everything. I'll tell you, we have never been fucking fake on this channel. And I do not ever want anybody on our channel to be fake. It's something that we talked about from the very get-go. Whatever it is that we say is just how we feel. It doesn't matter whatever the fuck anybody else in the community is saying, right? When we went on a thing thinking that Starfield was going to come out in March. We actually believed it was a very good possibility. But we ain't about fucking just putting on a show for the sake of clicks and engagement and all that stuff. I think that most of the people that watch our content and have been here from the get-go understand what we're about. And I will say that the biggest disappointment, besides the actual fact that Xbox shut those studios down, has been the discourse online from just simple critical takes that you have about that decision. People calling you out and trying to say that you're just one of these doom and gloomers that's been shitting on Xbox all this time. That's some horse shit right there. But your opinion is what it is. I think ultimately it's just a bad thing for gaming in general as well, right? Like, there's been numerous bad moves from lots of publishers this year, and we're critical of those companies too. We have been very critical of Sony when they've shut their studios down, even if their studios that they shut down aren't as important or as big as Tango Gameworks and Arkane Austin. Some of the studios that they shut down, I honestly don't really give a shit about. I'm not sitting here talking a whole lot about Roundhouse and Alpha Dog either. But I will say that Tango Gameworks and Arkane Austin, it's a bad move to shut those guys down. I won't get behind that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it and try and present it like, hey, you know what? It makes sense. Right? I think it's bad. Brett says, don't take this the wrong way. I wasn't really interested to play Prey or Redfall. That being said, it was cool to see what new ideas they had. They just weren't for me. Hey, 100%. Dude, those studios, like I said at the beginning of the stream, weren't necessarily, like, for me, my favorite studios either as far as the games that they made. But I see them as valuable to Xbox, and I liked trying them out, right? Like, I feel like I saw somebody be like, post this because I had like 3 hours played in Hi-Fi Rush, right? And he's like saying, oh, fake outrage because he's only played 3 hours of Hi-Fi Rush or whatever. I'm like, dude, I graze so many different fucking games and try a bunch of different games. And if we only care about the studios that get shut down that make only our favorite games, then we lost the plot. There'll only be like 5 studios for Xbox. Oh, this is all they need to make is my favorite fucking games. Right? Just make the games that I want to pour 300 hours in. Nothing else fucking matters. Right? I get excited about the potential and ability for all these studios to make these different games because I get a chance to try them and see what's for me. And I can't overlook the fact that Hi-Fi Rush is loved by many people. Redfall is even loved by many people. I think Redfall had a chance to turn into something they kept at it for a long time and had done something better with it. And if it didn't launch in the state that it did, that was the biggest disappointment about Redfall is how they let it launch. It needed more time. Whose fault is that? I don't know. Xbox and Phil kind of took the blame. You can say it's Arkane Austin as well. But literally, Xbox said that they didn't even know what kind of shape the game was in, that they didn't even fucking look at it. Later, after the updates, I thought it was better. I thought it was a fun game. I think if it would launch the way it was after the 60 frames update, it would have been seen as a different game. I don't know if it would have been like a huge, massive critical success or anything, but I think it would have been seen as a good game. And I think it would have been even better had they been able to get this update out that they're supposed to launch this Halloween. A lot of people fucking love Hi-Fi Rush. A lot of people love Redfall. Not as many as Hi-Fi Rush, obviously. I mean, Redfall's kind of a joke to a lot of people. But I think it's a franchise that could have had potential, for sure. And I don't say that Arkane Austin is not capable of making great games now because of Redfall. All you got to do is look at their history of the stuff that they made before. I see people talking about the marketing for Hellblade 2, Johnny. The tweet they did today was funny as a joke, like for me, because like it's literally so lazy. It's like Hellblade 2, May 21st, and a picture, right? But ultimately, I'm not as worried about the marketing for it. I think that they're going to have a lot of marketing in the couple weeks here leading up to launch, and that's when you market these games heavy. That's kind of typical now for the industry. I think we're going to see that going, but the tweet today was funny because it's like with the marketing not having been existent yet, to see that lazy tweet, it was like, okay, it's kind of a joke, right? Duke says, I think I'm disappointed to see how many fellow Xbox fans are disparaging Hi-Fi Rush, all because Xbox decided to shut the studio down, as if they weren't fans of it a year ago. Exactly. They were the same people were talking about how amazing it is that Xbox allows the companies to make games like Hi-Fi Rush. And shit like that, right? And now it's like, you know what? It wasn't good enough. It wasn't critical. It didn't sell enough. So bye. You know, I don't understand that either. Brett says, good to hear you don't want people to be fake. By the way, you look like hell, Mav. Thanks. Hellblade 2, I think is going to be great. I think it's going to set the bar for graphics. I think it's going to do a lot of great things, right? I think Xbox is still going to have lots of awesome things. I think Xbox is going to have so much value in Game Pass and so many games coming out. I am not going to stop celebrating Xbox. I don't think Phil Spencer should be fired. And if somebody had made the point to me before, maybe if it wasn't for Phil, it would have been even worse. And maybe that's a good point. I think it was E-Ranks who had said that. Yeah, like maybe if it wasn't for Phil, it could have been worse. But I still don't like the fact that they allowed it to happen. Even if it wasn't his decision, maybe it was partly his and Satya's, or maybe it was just the board and the money guys, right? But I liked before when he was able to convince them to invest more and grow, not post ABK where we see all this detraction. And I know the industry is in a different place, but you even saw Matt Piscatella's stuff talking about how there is a path to actual industry growth this year. I made the point before that I thought a lot of these companies were overreacting to potential financial analysts and industry analysts that are out there that don't really necessarily see everything and all the different factors taking place, where they've actually seen in this last quarter, whatever, actual growth in the industry. And there is actual potential growth going to be in a whole year, which is why a lot of these companies had made all the decisions they did, is because they actually saw the industry declining a little bit. But we were actually seeing that maybe it's not going to happen. And we still see moves like this. We see after the last financials with Xbox that they had increased their revenue substantially, their profits up across the board, despite the lack of console sales, despite the decline in hardware sales. Everything else has been up. And why? It's because of the diverse portfolio, the diversification of launching games on multiple devices, having something like Game Pass that brings in more reoccurring revenue and all these other kind of things. And doing something like this just is a detraction of that whole idea. And I think it's a bad move. Yeah, E-Rank says, yeah, I agree. We don't know exactly why the moves were and what the options were, for sure. I do think that Schreier's report is probably accurate because he's usually accurate on some of these reports. And it was about how long it was going to take for these companies to be able to do their next games. And they just didn't want to invest in it. That's pretty much what it comes down to. The challenge of either building up to develop the next game, the amount of money it's going to take, and the amount of years it would take to be able to get their next project, and they saw it as a detriment, not an additive. They saw it as the return wouldn't be worth it for the amount of time it would take to see, and I don't like that. When these studios have their projects finished, I would like them to be able to start new ones. That's what I would think we all would hope for as Xbox gamers in the Xbox ecosystem, that the developers can keep making games for us, especially in a subscription service like Game Pass. But now it just flips so much where the money people have gotten so much control, and now we're starting to see Xbox fans that are so pro Xbox to the point of shilling just for the corporation, now saying that we should dissolve Game Pass or put less in Game Pass, and that Call of Duty, you shouldn't put it in Game Pass, all that kind of stuff, for the sake of the betterment of Microsoft and the corporation here, not us. I ain't getting down with that. God Emperor Sofa King with the $5 super chat says, I hope reviewers don't try to make an example Hellblade 2 by review bombing it because they're outraged about the closures. Well, they should review bomb every publisher's game if that's the case. Right? But I do know Xbox gets picked on from the big games media more than the others. So they will see this, obviously, as bigger than the other publishers. And honestly, I think it kind of is too, because they just got ABK. They just acquired ZeniMax Bethesda a few years ago. I think Embracer is probably the worst situation. What Embracer did is just fucking pathetic. But ultimately, like, yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that this happened. God Emperor Sofa King with the 5 says, I hope reviewers don't try to make an example. I already read that. Fuck, I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind here. I wanted to read something else. I need some Portillo's. Fuck Portillo's, dude. Oh my God. I would not be sad if Portillo's closed. I'll tell you that. I felt like I almost got poisoned last time I went there. Hey, babe. What? What did I say? Did I say something bad? I'm so confused. Yeah, Tom, Portillo's was ass, dude. Like, we went there. We were so excited. I was so excited. I was so excited about Portillo's, bro. Like, we had one open in the Colony, and we went there. We got to try like a bunch of like everything. Yeah, I know, babe. I'm fucking going crazy. And I was so excited, and it was like, I shit you not, the Italian beef sandwich. The Italian beef sandwich we got. The beef in it was like the brown paper towels you'll get in the fucking like public restrooms sometimes. You know, the brown ones you pull out of the machine, and they're like super thin and dry, right? Well, obviously all paper towels are dry, but you know, they like shred under those. If you get them wet, they just like dissolve, you know? The Italian beef, it was literally like soggy bread full of wet brown paper towels. That's what it was like for me. The hot dog had no flavor and was just mush, and it was really weird when you would take a bite into it. And the hamburger, the cheeseburger, tasted like a frozen beef patty that was not seasoned at all. That was made out of soy. It was actually worse than the hamburgers I would have as a child at elementary school cafeteria. That's how bad Portillo's was. And the fries weren't even that good. And even the fucking cheese dip we get it wasn't good. I don't know. I have a theory I have a theory about this, that our Portillo's that we got in the colony was different. Like their food is obviously different than the other Portillo's around the country, because if that was how it was supposed to be, I don't understand how they've ever existed in the first place. Yeah, I really, really was excited. It's not, let me tell you, I'm not super critical over food. I love shit food, right? I like tons of garbage places, shitty fast food places. I love them all, right? That was one I don't know. It was different. It was different. Rage baiting food is pretty funny. You know, if you want some rage bait here, I'll tell you something else. Just while we're on the subject. In-N-Out, I like you. I think you have a good burger. I like the simplicity of your menu. I like you have the secret menu thing going on, all this kind of stuff. But for the love of God, In-N-Out, can you please get a different potato vendor? Or whatever the fuck is wrong with your fries? Because they are literally fried cardboard. The only way to make them edible is if you put tons of other shit on them. In-N-Out, for as good as they are, has the worst fries out of any place ever. Just saying. If you change your fries In-N-Out, you will be perfect. We can talk about food for hours. Five Guys is overpriced trash. It's been a long time since I've went to Five Guys. McDonald's fries are the best. I'll tell you who has the best fries, and you wouldn't think it because it's not a place you would think of to go for fries. But here in Dallas, we have a barbecue chain. It's not known as having the best barbecue. I think it's pretty good. It's Dickey's Barbecue Pit, the big yellow cup. If you're from the Dallas area, or you've lived in Dallas area or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, right? And maybe it's other places too. I'm not sure where all Dickey's is. But I'll say they have a good burger too. Underrated. People don't even know. But it's not just in Dallas. Okay. If you go to Dickey's, you get their fucking fries. The seasoning they put on the fries. Oh my God. Yeah, Delroy, DQ's underrated for the burger also. Never tried the fries at Dickey's, Atreyu? Try the fries. Get a burger, and trust me. If your Dickey's has burgers, get a cheeseburger and fries at Dickey's. Try it. And when they hand you that bag, the paper bag with the fries in it, you will smell the seasoning on the fries and your life will change. Yeah, the fries at Dickey's Barbecue Pit, fuck. At least ours here is good. I will say there's a chance, because of the kind of chain that Dickey's is, that they're not going to be as consistent across the different places because it's a barbecue joint. But fries are so good. Jason, we used to have Crystals here, but they all shut down a long time ago. Red Robin has some good fries. I like Red Robin's burgers. Their onion rings. The best thing at Red Robin is the onion rings, bro. You get the onion rings and they bring them out. It's this huge fucking like stack of giant onion rings. Fuck. What do I think about Five Guys food? I like Five Guys. It's been a very long time. I don't think it's like the best fucking thing ever, you know? You're in Texas too, Retro? Right on. The steak fries from Red Robin, yeah, they're good. I like the charcoal smell and flavor at Red Robin. Yeah, the fucking onion rings at Red Robin are like amazing. It's hard to get onion rings in Germany? Really? Yes, they should. Smash burgers greater than all? I don't know. White Castles? Okay, I have a the last time I had White Castle, we were on it was a long time ago. I don't know. This is going to be a longer conversation now because we're starting talking about food. Sorry if anybody was watching and expecting more conversation about these studios. It's out of the system now. We're fucking moving on to fast food. White Castle. Last time we went to White Castle was a long time ago, and me and my wife used to go to Vermont every year for Christmas. And this year, we had no money or anything. Like, we were young, and we went by bus. We decided from Dallas, Texas, to go by Greyhound bus to Burlington, Vermont. And it was a long journey. Let me tell you, it was. If you're used to traveling distances like that for Greyhound, you have to stop at so many fucking different bus stops. You have like layovers at stations, all this kind of shit. They don't just go straight there. They took us to fucking Atlanta, all the way on the East Coast, southeast, before they went north, right? Way out of the fucking way. So we went fucking Greyhound from Dallas, Texas to Burlington, Vermont. And one of the stops was in Indianapolis, and they stopped outside of a White Castle to allow us to get food. There was a couple of druggies that tried to ask me if I had any ecstasy at that same stop, so I was a little kind of scared because I didn't know what the hell I was going to say if I said no, which I did. I said, no, I don't have drugs. I'm sorry. But we got White Castle. And I will say this. I'm not a huge fan. White Castle to me tastes like wet meatloaf on rolls. It's like pretty nasty. It's just so mushy. Like the meat just like is weird. The meat, like I feel like you could pick up the burger meat and it just like fucking fall apart. However, I love the concept of it and that you can get a bag of burgers of like fucking 10 little sliders, right? And there's a weird thing. I actually like the shitty ass frozen White Castle burgers that you can get at the store. And I think it's because the meat is actually a little bit more solid. I don't know. I like a little bit of texture in my meat, but when the texture of the meat is the same as the fucking roll, I don't know. Yeah, so I kind of like the frozen ones. If you want to have like a trashy ass, like nasty snack or whatever, but the real ones, I don't know. I do want to try it again because it's been a long time. It's been like 20 years. Yeah. What did I say? Yeah, they get the grease in the bun, so it's all like soggy. Right? But that doesn't happen with the frozen ones. Yeah, we're talking meat here. We're talking about mushy meat. I see all the doom and gloom conversation out there for people. Somebody's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be getting receipts from all these people, all these people, and they're not allowed to ever be excited again about Xbox because we're getting receipts." It's fucking so cringy, dude. Like, what is weirder, caring more about the fact that somebody is disappointed in something, or somebody actually being disappointed in something, right? Now we talk about like all the overly doom and gloom conversations all this year and stuff when there really was not a whole lot going on. This was actually something substantial, and people are going to feel a certain way when they actually shut down studios, right? So it's weird to see the doom and gloom conversation go to actual studio closures. That's not really doom and gloom. It's like the shit really happened. The doom and gloom would be like, oh, I think they're going to close studios. Right? Xbox is not going to exist anymore. Xbox is dead. Xbox is going to put everything everywhere, and we're never going to have consoles again. Hardware is going away. Phil Spencer's the worst executive ever in gaming history. Like all those kind of things. That's like the over doom and gloominess. But like when you're saying like this is bad, that it contradicts the vision and the decisions that they've been making, that these studios shouldn't have been closed. You can be critical of it. Think it's a dumb decision. All of a sudden you're a doom and gloomer, right? Yeah, I think it's fucking bad. Yeah, it's legit. There's legitimacy to this now, right, Tom? Like, that's the thing. Like, this is a legitimate bad move. E-Ranks BurgerCast. I would love Neo when Neo GameSpark was wishing me a happy birthday on Twitter last week. He had said that he doesn't know why I haven't started a snack podcast yet. And I don't know where that comes from. But I think it would be interesting to have a snack podcast. I don't know. What do you guys think about talking about food all the time? I don't know why anybody thinks I would have a conversation about snacks. I think at the end of the day, all will be good with Xbox as well. But I will tell you this. I wish they didn't close those studios. I still haven't done Hop Dotty, and it's what is that? The meat is weird. What is things she said? What is this thing she said, man? Yeah. The meat's mushy. I like my meat more solid. Okay, Hop Dotty. The outrage got it. Boom is real with his thoughts, guys. Boom gets excited about making content, but I don't know. Like, I know Boom. There's certain creators that are fake, okay, that are more show than anything. Boom is a genuine person, and he like me, he's disappointed about this. There's some people that are disappointed in it. There's some people that don't give a shit. And whatever, and he's a content creator that has shows, and he feels energized to make content when certain things happen, much like a lot of us do. And he's going to talk about what he feels, like many of us do. And like he's been one of the most supportive people in this entire community. Like overall, towards other people, towards his community, towards other creators, and all this kind of stuff. For people to go, and also mostly positive about Xbox in the face of tons of people that are being negative, like all the time. Like, Boom is going to keep it how he feels, despite what other people think. And that's just the reality. Even like with like things that are like ridiculous rumors, if he actually feels like it's possible, he will go with it because he's excited about it, right? Like there's nothing at all like engagement baiting or like in the wrong mindset about what some of these guys are doing. It's just what they feel. Like I feel like, so this happens a lot with when these conversations are had, when there's criticalness. like 99% of the time people are cool because, you're all positive and you match the energy of the chat or the people that are attracted to your channel or whatever because you're positive about Xbox most of the time. So they come here, you're excited about Xbox, you're all talking about how awesome everything is and how excited you are, right? And then something happens and you're like, oh, I don't like that, and you say it, and it's like, oh, you're engagement baiting, or you're fake, or you're like a pony now, or you're whatever, you're just doing this for clicks. And it's like, I feel like people don't understand that a lot of the people that actually make content in this space just do it because they enjoy it and it's like a hobby for them. And it's to have an outlet for the passion that they have for gaming. When we started our channel, I started it by myself talking without hardly anybody ever watching, and pre-recorded our shows because I didn't know how to do live stuff. I didn't know anything really. I just started talking because I wanted to have a podcast to have an outlet to talk about gaming as something I just thought would be interesting and fun to do. And that's what it's all about. It's what it's always been about. Things grow into what they become, but like that's more as you get comfortable talking and you meet people and all this stuff, you start learning things, all these different people, and you start to get excited. Like we developed our whole family here based on relationships and based on the conversations we have and who clicks, and there's nothing fake about anybody that I consider part of the Fun Speculation fam. And I consider like Boom has such a larger platform and such a bigger thing, but I consider that dude like a brother, like family here, and there's nothing fake about him. But like, it's weird how you have people just turn on you so fast. They can like listen for years and agree with everything. But like the second that you are disappointed or you are critical, it's like you're fake. So like you can be like real for years, right? And the second that something bad happens that you don't like, all of a sudden everything that you've done, that you've been saying all this time doesn't matter whatsoever. The credibility that you've established for being real, right, doesn't matter. That's why I took such expense at what Shane said, like getting keep it real props. Like keep it real is what we should all do. That's something that we talked about early on. Like a lot of the fake ass channels and the fake ass opinions and people that are out there always saying fake shit. And there's some people in the podcast community that do that don't actually believe a lot of the stuff that they say. I'm completely against that. I think it's bad for industry. I think it's bad for gamers. I think it's bad for communities. I think it's just bad in general. And games media too. They do that a lot. It's just funny how that happens because all of a sudden you feel a certain way about something. It's like everything that you've been saying for years all of a sudden just doesn't matter, right? I don't know. I would feel if there's anything I want anybody to ever feel about our channel, is that we just say what we think and feel and try and have fun doing it. And it's not complicated or rocket science. We're just a bunch of friends that talk about games and say our feelings on it, right? But there's people that are different than that for sure. I can tell you 100%. Boom is genuine with anything that he feels and thinks, because you have real conversations with these people, right? Berg says, I think the annoying part is when people criticize, they do it for days and days. It gets annoying. And if you watch a lot of people doing the same thing, it gets draining. I see that, right? Like you can be on Twitter like yesterday, and I made like 5 or 6 tweets or whatever, and retweet a bunch of stuff or things I agree with and all that kind of stuff. But then like everybody else is doing the same. So you see that by everybody on Twitter or whatever, and you just lump everybody into the same category. Like everybody who's being negative today is a doom and gloomer. Everybody that's being negative today is just engagement baiting and all that kind of stuff. But like a lot of it is just because a lot of these people actually have these feelings. Right? So it all adds up and you see it as all one person because they're a part of it, but everybody is just saying what they think because it was big fucking news. You know what I mean? Like, it was big news yesterday, so a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about it. I feel like that kind of is weird in general with the community. Like, people forget. I actually, okay, so here's an example. I know some of the people that have been listening to our content for most of this year, right? Like Tom, Nate Dogg has been arguing in our chat against us most of this year, right? Duke, as tons of people here in this chat. I see your names all the fucking time, right? So if you've been here all year and you've heard a lot of our shows, PM in the PM or Xbox Ultimate or FSP, you know that we've been arguing against the doom and gloom in this community all fucking year. All fucking year we have, right? Like, but sometimes it's like you have people that all of a sudden you just say one thing or one negative thing. It's like that didn't exist, right? And you even get comments like on our channel that just completely contradicts everything that we've been saying. Even with the 30 frames and 60 frames conversation, which is another critical thing we've been over Xbox, is having options at launch, right? Anybody that's followed, especially Pong and I, will know that about us, that we've been preaching this options thing about games for years now. And I actually got I have to read this comment to show you what it's like sometimes with people and how they see you, right? And even this stream, right? I'm negative on Xbox, right? This stream I'm doing right now, we've probably lost like 20 fucking subscribers, right? I don't care. It is what it is because I'm always going to keep it real. But people that generally watch us don't like negative Xbox news. So if I was not trying to keep it real, why the fuck would I say this? I would just be telling you what you want to hear, right? To keep up the positivity and all that kind of stuff. But I got to read this comment just to show you how out of it sometimes people's mentalities are. And I want this is specifically for the people that don't think, or that have been listening to us for a long time and understand what Pong and I have been saying, right? So this guy said, that me and Pong, because this was a comment that we were talking about, y'all don't want to take accountability for 2 years of telling our viewers that if they care about frame rate, they should get a PC instead of asking better and how it was technically impossible because Starfield is so advanced. Same thing we're doing at Hellblade now. So this guy, and I said, you aren't listening to what we said. If this is your comment, you're familiar with us, you would know that we've been asking for options on this game at launch and being critical when they aren't there. And this guy said, I've been watching Mav and Pong for a long time on many different shows. Y'all are cool, but you definitely defended the 30 frames per second as if it could not happen, and it was Bethesda's creative choice. I can't 100% blame you because that's what Bethesda had said, but y'all definitely ate it up and regurgitated it. And like I said, y'all were just doing the same thing for Hellblade, saying 30's okay because it's pushing UE5. But in a year or whatever, it comes to PlayStation will get 60. It's about what y'all praise and pay for Xbox console fans get treated like second-class citizens and defend the scraps thrown their way. So this person listened to a show where we were being critical again about Xbox and the 30 frame situation, and then went on to say that we were contradicting ourselves because we've been saying it was okay for years. It's like selective listening sometimes. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I mean, we've had so much kickback from the 30 frames conversation for a couple years now. When it first started, talking about how we should be getting options on all these games, and it's just strange, man. But like, it is what it is. Like, it's just part of. Ultimately, it's all part of being a content creator in the space, talking about games because people are passionate and are going to feel what they want to feel, right? And it's no different from many of us. And if I'm upset or disappointed in something, you're going to hear it. That's literally where Mav rant came from, because all that shit is genuine. When I spew all that out, it's just my thoughts unleashing from my brain, in my mouth, and whatever I feel is just what you get, right? And it's just going to be what it is. But there's nothing fake about it. And I know that some people aren't going to like the negative conversations. But I will tell you, if Xbox closes other studios, just forewarning, there will be negative sentiment about that as well. Because that's a negative thing to me. It's just what we think, man. Like, and I think it's a misnomer for content. Like, maybe a lot of people, I don't know. For us, like, it's just what we think. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. You know, ultimately, we want to have a good community where we can have these conversations and have fun talking about games 99% of the time, you know. But sometimes shit happens. And like I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. Let's see here. Anything positive happened today, or we want to talk about fast food again, or should we get out of here? We literally watched pretty much the whole ZeniMax Bethesda roundtable. Man, it was hard to listen to some of those things. It was hard to listen to that. But I think it's important. Honestly, I think it's important to remember what these things that were said, because that's what they've been telling us. That's what they've been telling the developers that they were acquiring. And that's what they've been selling to us as gamers, right? So I think we should hold them accountable and have, like, that's what we should expect. I don't know. I'm not the person that's always like, you know, they're just going to lie to us. It's a corporation. What do we expect? If they tell us something, I as a consumer, I want them to hold up. Let's talk about Sony's Helldivers 2 situation, the flip-floppiness on that. Like, I'm super happy that they backed down on it. It was stupid for them to begin with, and mainly in how they handled the whole situation. Chick-fil-A. Did we talk about Chick-fil-A? Funny you mentioned, I actually ate Chick-fil-A today. Early this morning, we had actually, because they deliver here too, so we had Chick-fil-A delivered for my daughter. And they forgot the orange juice, so they gave us like hey, get a free chicken sandwich thing or whatever. So I had Chick-fil-A for lunch. Chick-fil-A, went there and or dinner. I got the chicken number one, right? If that's what I go with Chick-fil-A, I go with the number one chicken sandwich, original, and get the waffle fries, sweet tea. Still got my sweet tea right here. Spicy chicken sandwich is amazing. Chicken strips are amazing. Chicken nuggets are amazing. The waffle fries are amazing. They have great mac and cheese, which they added a few years ago. Fucking love Chick-fil-A. My pleasure. Chick-fil-A chicken is grown in a laboratory. I don't know. I don't care. Tom says Bojangles better. We literally got a Bojangles here like 3 months ago, maybe. I don't know, maybe was it longer? I'm not sure exactly when. We finally got a Bojangles. And what's funny about Bojangles is they don't advertise it as being spicy. So when I first bit into the first Bojangles, the first thing I got was a chicken sandwich. I was surprised because that's just pretty fucking spicy, but it's so good. And I love the chicken strips. They have good dips too. They have great fries. I like Bojangles a lot. They have great biscuits. But our Bojangles is different. They don't actually have like bone-in chicken there. They don't have like just regular chicken. They just have chicken sandwiches and strips. But yeah, I like Bojangles. One of my favorite things is when a new food place is open close to us. Because I get fast food and shit food all the time. And when a new fast food place opens, then I'm like all for it. E-Rank says, do we have Raising Cane's? Yes, we do have Raising Cane's. And I love the chicken strips. I will say their chicken strips are a little lacking in flavor, but it makes up for it with the sauce, because their dipping sauce is one of the best dipping sauces ever. And they have amazing bread. They have as bread just to eat, fucking bread, and especially if you make your own sandwich with their bread, with the chicken strips, is amazing. Fucking bread's absolutely incredible. The chicken tenders are great in the sauce, and something that is overlooked and underappreciated at Raising Cane's is they have the best coleslaw on the planet. Everybody talks about KFC's coleslaw and all that shit. The KFC's coleslaw is too sweet. If you want the best coleslaw ever, Raising Cane's has the best coleslaw. If you like coleslaw. And yeah, Trey says they have the best Texas toast. Fuck yeah. You got to get extra toast. And for me, sometimes I get an extra thing of coleslaw. I make sandwiches out of the chicken strips. Does Chick-fil-A make great AAA games? No, they don't. Melting Pot? I've never been to Melting Pot, Tom, but I've heard great things about it. Psycho. Verg says that you're in San Antonio and we don't have the real Bojangles menu. So you're like us. You just have like the limited menu. San Antonio has the best Tex-Mex. I love... Okay, so if you want great Tex-Mex, which is different than Mexican food, okay? Now, most people around the country, if you aren't from the South, if you're eating Mexican food, it's Tex-Mex. Like all these like shitty Mexican restaurants are usually a form of Tex-Mex, okay? But the real Tex-Mex is here in Texas, right? And the rest of the country is shit. I'll just tell you this. And Dallas has great Tex-Mex. They have El Phoenix. They have Joe T. Garcia's. You know, they have some other good places too. But I will tell you honestly, even as a Dallas person who fucking loves the Tex-Mex here, and who thinks El Phoenix is the best thing since sliced bread, and it's like my favorite place ever. If you really want the best Tex-Mex, you're going to go on the Riverwalk. And you're going to try some of the restaurants on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. You will get the best fucking Tex-Mex there. Now, it's not Mexican food, right? It's Tex-Mex. You're just going to get enchiladas. You get sopapillas for dessert. You're going to get maybe flautas or empanadas and tamales, stuff like that. A lot of beef things, right? Chili con carne. A lot of chili con carne stuff, you know. Cheese enchiladas. Always the go-to Tex-Mex places for me, or fajitas. Get the fucking cheese enchiladas. Get some queso to start with, right? Maybe a little sampler platter or something that has flautas or something like that. Maybe the mini quesadillas and shit. Get a queso. Get some tortillas on the side. Get a mix. Get some corn and flour, right? You have your smorgasbord of stuff to start with, then you have your cheese enchilada dinner. Now, cheese enchilada is not topped with queso, right? A cheese enchilada is filled with like cheddar type cheese, and it's usually wrapped in a corn tortilla that it has been dipped in some kind of a sauce. It's wrapped, and then it's chili con carne is poured on top of that, which is chili con carne is like a beef chili. Think of it like chili, right? Except a little different because it's seasoned a little differently. And like in certain places like El Phoenix, they actually put brisket in it. So you have like chili con carne with like brisket or beef in the actual sauce that they put on top of the cheese filled corn tortilla. And then they put onions and cheese on top of that, like shredded cheese, right? That is a traditional cheese enchilada, usually served with rice and beans. Some people get double rice, some people get double beans. What you do is you have the cheese enchilada dinner, right? You eat your cheese enchiladas. And then when all is left is some beans and some rice on your plate, you mix up the fucking rice and the beans, and you take those tortillas that you had to start with, and you take those fucking tortillas and you put your rice and bean and chili con carne mixture inside those fucking tortillas, and you dip that in the queso or salsa, and you eat those. It's like having extra tacos at the end of your meal. And then you're going to get sopapillas to finish, okay, for dessert. And you get sopapillas. El Phoenix has the best sopapillas on the planet. But you want to get sopapillas with honey. Sometimes they give them with ice cream, and then you're going to pour honey on it. Sopapilla is fried dough with cinnamon and sugar. It's a big fluffy fried dough pocket. You cut into that with honey. Oh, it's so good. Revolutionary. I know. It is. And I saw you, Delroy, 100%. Riverwalk has legit Tex-Mex. Riverwalk, in my opinion, I had my best Tex-Mex meal ever on the Riverwalk. And I am a Tex-Mex lover. I love Tex-Mex, I love barbecue, I love burgers, pizza, tacos, all that shit. Whatever. But you're on a birria kick right now. At least 2-3 times a week, Atreyu. I fucking love some tacos. We have lots of like authentic like street taco places around us, and there's one that has fucking incredible birria tacos, bro. Guapo Taco has good birria. There's a place close to here called Marquez. They have the best birria tacos. And we have this other place that I like called Nuevo Leon that has really good just street tacos, and their carne asada tacos are second to none, bro. Mexican food, all types, is also severely lacking in Germany and most of Europe. I would imagine so. But I did read something a couple years ago, Delroy, that Tex-Mex was having kind of it was becoming a little bit of a thing there in Europe. Whereas beforehand it wasn't. I don't know how legitimate that was, but I don't know about Germany. But I think in the UK and maybe like France or something like that, it said like Tex-Mex was actually starting to become a thing there. Now you're craving Mexican food? If you get like Tex-Mex or something, don't get a place where everything has fucking mole. Okay, that's not real Tex-Mex. That's like a spin-off. All right? It's like trying to be too fancy. Tex-Mex is simpler than that. This is a pro tip for you guys. If you're in another state or something, you want to have real Tex-Mex, don't go in a place where all the sauces fucking have mole in it. Panda Express, I think my wife is a fan of Panda Express. We actually just had one open down the street from us, though, and we haven't been yet for some reason. I don't know. Why haven't we been there? Surprised. Anyway, fun conversations tonight, everybody. I like we ended on a food note. But anyway, we'll be back. Pong and I are going to have a lot to say tomorrow. And when we are critical of Xbox tomorrow over this again, we'll probably lose a lot more subscribers and stuff, and it is what it is. But, you know, we're going to talk about how we feel, and we're going to keep it real. But I hope you all enjoyed the content. If you do like the content, if you're not too pissed off at us for having real thoughts, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and all that. Greatly appreciate everybody for hanging out and being here. And hope you all have a fucking awesome night. Take it easy, everybody. Peace out.